Chapter 5190. It's time to liquidate. Jian Wushuang said calmly. In a flash, he appeared above the three of them, overlooking the three peak powers who were hugged in a group. Snapped. Emperor Daluo Jie slapped his palm on the forehead of God Emperor Malong and directly dented his skull. Thanks Tut brother, it's still the last time. Puff. Emo Long sprayed blood on the opponent's face, raising his fist and hitting the chest of the Emperor Daluo Jie, also denting his chest. The three of their original powers were completely consumed, and they didn't even have the power to restore their physical bodies. The three pinnacle powers all had visible wounds on their bodies. Idiot. Emo Long didn't say anything else, but kept repeating the word idiot. You die for me. The Emperor Daluo used the last trace of power to mobilize the Shumi ring, took out a pinnacle dagger, and inserted it into the neck of Emperor Malong. The pale golden blood rushed along the wound, gushing out. Puff. The Emperor of Daluo realm violently. Emo Long also violently, pulling out the dagger from his neck, this time not repeating the word idiot. With a grunt in his throat, God Emperor Emo Long couldn't distinguish his facial features, sneered out a sneer, and said hoarsely, "You should pierce my head." As soon as the voice fell, Emo Long held the dagger's hand, squeezing the only trace of energy in the body again, and manipulated the dagger to slide out a beam of light. The two emperors of Daluo realm, clutching their throats, stepped back. Jian Wushuang couldn't bear to look at it, and such a strong man finally made it like this. Call. He waved his hand, and thought that the universe dissipated, and Jian Wushuang was not affecting their minds, leaving them a sigh of relief by the way. Emo Long, you hand over all the treasures in your body, and all your achievements, I can spare your life. Jian Wushuang said lightly. After the three of them were separated, the only breath that they held was also gone, and now they can only sit on the ruins and look up at Jian Wushuang in white clothes in the sky. What's going on? How could Miluo fall? The two discovered that Miluo had fallen. You thief! The Emperor of Daluo Jie, forbearing the blood in his chest, yelled angrily. Jian Wushuang didn't bother to look at these two people, and a sword gas killed one of them. Hui Qing, the other is handed over to you. Jian Wushuang said casually. If he said it was 5-5, then 5-5. He didn't know the ranking of the two. Now he killed one at will, leaving the remaining one to Hui Qing. Two people are equal to one person. Carve up a pinnacle Dian immortal. Hui Qing was stunned for a moment, and finally said silently, and patted it with a palm. In the end, the physical body of the Emperor Daluo dissipated, and the divine body, and the source also disappeared, completely perished. The two got the corresponding record, but the main killer Emo Long was taken away. The last one, on the record alone, Miluo has the most records, and Emo Long has the most treasures. There are probably not many Dian immortals in the entire universe that can have more treasures than God Emperor Malong. After all, not every Fourth Order Emperor just has a son. I am afraid that only the immediate family members of the Fifth Order Emperor can surpass the treasures on Emo Long's body. Well, if you think carefully, take out all the treasures. Your life is worthless. Seeing you help me hold them for so long, I will let you go. Jian Wushuang didn't lie to him. His life was at most 100,000 records. Jian Wushuang really didn't like this. The reason for keeping him alive is to control the innate treasure on his body. The two pieces of Jimfeng Catalog and Zinula are the innate treasure suits, which are the most valuable. Once they are controlled, it is equivalent to an extra whole card. But what Jian Wushuang wanted most was the Eye of the Beast God. An innate treasure of the domain category is too rare to have, and few emperors have it, let alone Dian immortal. Although Jian Wushuang was able to use a thought of the universe, every time he used a thought of the universe, his thought power would be drained. With the Eyes of the Beast God, it would relieve him a lot of pressure. At least he didn't need to move to use the universe. Moreover, the Eyes of the Beast contained a power that made his heart palpitations, and this treasure must be obtained in its entirety. Since the Fourth Order Emperor had given his son so many treasures, he would definitely leave behind some backs. He was afraid that he would kill Emo Long, and these treasures would be gone. How do I believe in you? Emo Long sat on a rock, and saw the two Emperor Daluo, who were subsequently killed. The pride in his heart disappeared, and what replaced him was the joy of victory. These two idiots had no use value, and were killed directly. But he was still alive, and could still negotiate with Jian Wushuang. He won the battle of life and death. The delirious Emo Long grinned and laughed wildly. Jian Wushuang slowly landed beside him, patted his shoulder, and laughed along with him. I can swear. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly. Who would believe it? Emo Long's expression sank. Then there is nothing to talk about. Jian Wushuang's sword aura floated between Emo Long's eyebrows, and the terrifying aura emanating from a gray sword intent made Emo Long's breath unstable, panting in fright. Emo Long raised his hand and hurriedly shouted, "You can talk, I can give you all the treasures and records, but you have to give me a guarantee." Jian Wushuang stretched out his left hand, his 4 fingers facing the sky. "God is here. I, Jian Wushuang, swear that after getting Malong's treasure, he will never hurt Malong a bit. If you violate it, he will die." As soon as the voice fell, a ray of cause and effect in the sky condensed on the two of them. Emo Long nodded the temple head, and looked at Hui Qing again. Hui Qing understood in an instant that he didn't want to kill anymore, so he swore a vow like Jian Wushuang. "It's okay now." Jian Wushuang knelt down, eyebrows raised, and stared at Emo Long. 1 piece, 2 pieces, 3 pieces. Hundreds. The pinnacle of innate treasure is the innate treasure suit of the Blood Jade Tower. And this is the only one. There are 3 top innate treasures, 1 to guard the origin, 1 to protect the divine body, and the other to be the eye of the beast god. The remaining 17 pieces are of the innate supreme treasure level, and the rest are the most common ones are the pinnacle supreme treasure. And there are many supreme pinnacle treasure suits. Jian Wushuang looked at it and swallowed, and said lightly, "Brother Malong, you have stolen the emperor's treasure house." Standing in the distance, Hui Qing was taken aback, and there were some treasures that really suit him. Divine Emperor Emo Long didn't dare to be big. "Jian Wushuang, don't worry. There is absolutely no method on these treasures. You can recognize the Lord with a drop of blood. If you don't believe it, I can swear." Jian Wushuang waved his hand. "No. You just need to tell me all the information about this treasure." After being taken out, the eye of the beast looked like a diamond-shaped gem. Its pale golden color appeared very low-key, but the ancient atmosphere it exudes was genuine. Chapter 5191. The primitive star deep in the mountains. Jian Wushuang and Hui Qing came to a cave that was more hidden than the previous gorge. "Brother Wushuang, then we don't live here." Hui Qing folded her hands and smiled lightly. "Then we will see you on the main continent." Jian Wushuang nodded, and the two separated. This was also planned from the beginning. The strong are always lonely. He masters the ultimate swordsmanship, and takes the way of killing, while Hui Qing is the way of Zen. Different ways cannot be forced. In fact, Jian Wushuang still wanted to avoid unnecessary troubles. Hui Qing had a lot of secrets, and it was even more closely related to Qishan Temple. "Farewell." Jian Wushuang got up to send him off, watching Hui Qing's back disappear into the sky, and then re-entered the cave. The simple enchantment under the additional layout of the cave can provide insight into the additional millions of miles, and he will not stay here for too long. The Temple of Qishan is conceived with danger, and will give birth to powerful opportunities, especially now that Ji Dao has stepped into the 4th level, and has mastered the power of mind swallowing everything. He needs to continue to fight. At this moment, the key is to make a short correction, refining the eye of the beast first. According to Emperor Moron, the eye of the beast god was the remains of an ancient battlefield encountered by his father when he entered the long river of time and space. The reason it was called the eye of the beast god was because the spar resembled an eye and called out of the ancient beast gods. At that time, Moron's father thought he had picked up the big treasure, but after refining, the eye of the beast was not as strong as he thought. It is of little use to the emperor, but the power of this ancient secret treasure is very improved, which can increase the divine body of ordinary life 10 times. In addition to cultivating some powerful peculiarities, it is very difficult to improve the power of the divine body, but this treasure can enhance the divine body of Dian Immortal. Moron's father felt that this treasure was unusual, so he bestowed it on Moron. This treasure is indeed powerful, and his role is perfect for Dian Immortal, more powerful than any innate spirit treasure. Jian Wushuang crossed his knees on a flat stone bed, his eyebrows flashing constantly, and the eyes of the beast were fusing. Although he is not a special being, the divine body is stronger than ordinary special beings. At least in the big division domain, his divine body can be said to be superior. But looking at the entire primitive universe, his divine body power is very average. In other words, each of the special beings under Qishui Traveler's command possessed thousands of times the power of the divine body. Divine Emperor Morong, because his father was the emperor, awakened the power of the bloodline, and the divine body exploded with 500 times the power. But if he added 10 times the increase of the eye of the beast, he would have 5,000 times the divine body. 5,000 times. They are extremely strong existences and special beings, and only countless epochs in the secret realm of the universe can give birth to a darling of 5,000 times the divine body. The special life, the natural origin, and the special life bred in some higher secret realms. Each is no less than the special second-rank origin powerhouse, and there are even some that can be comparable to the ultimate way. The limit of the primitive universe is the special life that can give birth to 10,000 times the divine body. This kind of monster is unique. Once it is bred, it will be snatched up by the major forces and cultivated into a powerful talent. Once the harmony is successful, it will be a very strong presence among the fourth-order emperors. Qishui Walker is a special being born in the early days of the universe. He has 10,000 times a divine body, so he has a poor understanding of the origin path. Besides that, he is almost perfect, and the divine body can't be used up at all. As reason. Moreover, he is still the most promising existence in the primitive universe to break through the fifth-order emperor, and in the future, he has great hopes to become the fifth-order emperor and become the highest existence. Jian Wushuang's divine body can still be seen when it is evolving. After entering Dian, it is incomparable with those special beings. Fortunately, he has the eye of the beast god, which is the treasure that all Dian immortals can dream of. Directly increase the divine body 10 times, rather than simply accumulate the strength of the divine body. Now Jian Wushuang's divine body is about 1,000 times. If it is increased by 10 times, wouldn't it be a tenfold genetic divine body? It is directly comparable to the strongest life in the universe. The buzzing sound rang in his mind, and it was only at this moment that the eyes of the beast were completely integrated. Start it. Jian Wushuang forbeared his joy. Double. 3 times. 5 times. Jian Wushuang was stunned for a moment, turned the beast god's eyes to the extreme, and finally turned his body 6 times. What's the matter? Jian Wushuang asked in confusion. Could it be that Moron lied to him? It shouldn't be. He redisplayed the eyes of the beast with some uncertainty, until the phantom of the beast behind him solidified. He stopped. This time it was still increased by 6 times. At this time, his divine body reached more than 6,000 times, and he could destroy the world with every gesture. Because of the power of the source, he is stronger than any Dian immortal's source. Even if he burns the source, he can kill those masters of the ultimate way. The only difference is the power of the divine body, which has now been multiplied by 6 times, and has 6,000 times the divine body genes, which is comparable to the special lives bred in higher secret realms. The boundary of the eye of the beast god is not fixed. Jian Wushuang came to a conclusion. In people with weaker gods, his increase will be stronger. For example, it can be increased tenfold in Moron. If it is in those unique and special beings, it may only increase by 1 or 2 times. His divine body is 1,000 times twice that of Moron. He can increase 6 times. Then the special life of the 2,000 times divine body may increase twice. Sure enough, the universe is fair. These ordinary beings, especially the human race, have a weak life gene, but they have a large number, and they have a large number and strong understanding, and they are destined to reach the peak. Special beings are different. There are only a handful of special beings in the entire universe that have successfully combined with Tao, and the special life of 10,000-fold divine body is even more so that only Chishui Walker has successfully combined with Tao. As for ordinary beings, there are so many emperors in harmony. There are more than tens of thousands of emperors in the entire universe. There are tens of thousands of emperors who have walked out of the original universe for countless years. They are not reconciled to their own strength, chose to go rafting in the long river of time and space. But there are only a few special lives. This is the gap. Jian Wushuang is still very satisfied to be able to increase 6 times, so that his divine body can carry more thought power, which greatly improves his overall strength. Now even if he is alone, he has the confidence to deal with the general peak Dian Immortal. If it is Moron, if he encounters it alone, he still has to walk around. Jian Wushuang let out a sigh, put away the eyes of the beast god, and everything returned to peace. The divine body has also become 1,000 times the original. I have to find a way to improve my body. 1,000 times. It was the limit at the beginning of the Great Division, and now entering the Temple of Qishan. If there is a chance, he still focuses on improving the divine body. The divine body is his weakness and must be insufficient. Chapter 5192. He was unwilling to owe cause and effect for the treasures he got from Moron this time, so he forced most of the treasures to Huiqing. In addition to the Eye of the Beast God, he also picked a sword of innate treasure armor. The entire battle armor can cover the whole body. After the divine body is upgraded, coupled with the innate treasure armor, he is not afraid to fight close to those peak Dian immortals. As for the Blood Jade Palace and the innate treasure that guards the origin, he gave it to Huiqing. First, his origin is strong enough, and Miluo's innate treasure is enough. Second, Huiqing has a large strength span, and the origin is not stable. More need to guard the origin of the innate top treasure. And the Blood Jade Palace contains a lot of evil spirits, which can allow Huiqing to go through the transformation to improve her strength, and it is more suitable for Huiqing. The remaining innate treasures, the two are also divided according to the improvement of their own combat power. The remaining ordinary treasures, Huiqing can't look at them. After all, they are born from a great power, and are the ultimate way. The immeasurable Buddha also gave him a lot of good things. He gave all the remaining treasures to Jian Wushuang, all kinds of emperor-level pills, and some other treasures, such as treasures that can hide the breath of Dian Immortal. These things are top treasures in the outside world. Even if they don't need to go out, they can be sold and exchanged for other treasures. Jian Wushuang is alone now, and there are more treasures he needs in the future. So the way to improve the divine body is enough for him to drink a pot. There are also materials needed for physical consummation, which are even more expensive. After sorting out the treasures again, Jian Wushuang put away the treasures, took out the identity token, and checked his record. Trial. Jian Wushuang Realm. 6-turn Dian Immortal. This information is not available for viewing. Record 43. 96 million record rank. 72 the total ranking of the original stars. First, Blood Moon Daoist 2nd. Break the Army 3rd. Lengshuang Daojun 68th. Huiqing 72. Jian Wushuang. Both he and Huiqing entered the top 100 rankings, and only got a record of 30 million from Miluo. Even if he doesn't go out and hides in the mountains, he can be sure of the top 1,000 rankings, and may eventually fall out of the top 100. But the rewards of the God of Qi Temple only say that 1,000 and 1,000 can be bestowed. As for whether the value of the treasures given to the top 1 and the one with the top 1,000 is the same, he doesn't know. However, he believes that the treasure given to the first place is stronger. If it's all the same, don't fight when you enter the first 1,000, just find a place to practice. Cultivating on primal stars is 100 times stronger than in the outside world. It can be said that this is a rare retreat venue, but no one believes that number 1 is the same as the treasure obtained by 1,000. They are like Jian Wushuang, trying to squeeze the ranking into the top 100, or even the top 10. Looking at it now, the top 3 are all strong at the Taoist level. The top 10 weakest are all extreme Dian immortals. There are only a few peak Dayan immortals in the top 100, and most of them are extreme Dayan immortals. These extreme evolving immortals are old antiques who have survived countless emperors, and these young emperors and Taoists simply cannot compete with them. The number 1 Blood Moon Emperor ranks more than 400 in the Cosmos Gods and Demons list, which is equivalent to Juyu's strength. Jian Wushuang had seen Juyu's terrifying combat power. A single person slaughtered hundreds of 9-round perfect Dayan immortal level ghosts. A Dayan immortal of this kind of strength might be able to kill him in a single encounter. When I went to the main continent, I still had to avoid these Dayan immortals who were named Dao Monarchs. Although their strength hasn't reached the half-step emperor, they are not much different. At most they are weaker than the half-step emperor of the ultimate way. What is weak is just the strength of the source. Jian Wushuang is still a long way from being a strong player. At least he can't be the strongest in a primitive star. On this primordial star, his true combat power can be in the top 100, even if it is good, but fortunately, he has a lot of room for improvement now. Unlike those third-rank origin avenues, when they come to the end, they will only have the strength of the peak Dayan immortal when they are about to join the Dao. At the 4th level of Ji Dao, he can use his thought power to swallow the origin of others, and his strength can be improved very quickly. After swallowing a few pinnacle Dayan immortals, he is about to enter the ninth rank Dayan immortal. At that time, his strength will undergo a qualitative change, and his combat power will be comparable to the extreme Dayan immortal. It's just that it's not so easy to improve the Ji Dao. Only when the level of Dao is raised, his leap will be even greater. Every 3 layers of Ji Dao is a big threshold. In the hundreds of millions of years in the starry sky, he achieved the first 3 levels in one fell swoop, and then swallowed them with thought power in the great wilderness, and stepped into the 4th level. The most important thing at the moment is to upgrade the Ji Dao to the 6th level, as soon as possible, when the power of swallowing will be terrifying. Peak Dayan Immortal's original Dao, now he can swallow 10%. The 6 levels of extreme Dao, and he can even swallow other Dayan Immortal's original Dao intact. Since mastering this ability, he has become more and more eager to kill. This killing is full of evil, which is why the taboo demon lord is optimistic about him. This is the attraction between the same kind. Fortunately, this is the temple of Qishan. If it is outside, he will definitely be included in the ranks of the demon. But at their level, the distinction between righteousness and demons has become very blurred. Just like those Dayan immortals on primordial stars, many of them are great demon in the outside world, but they are still at large, with emperors standing behind them, and no one dares to move them. Jian Wushuang is different. He can't be regarded as a demon now, but an evil Dayan immortal, who can strengthen himself by devouring the same kind. And he has no background. Once Ji Dao enters the 6th floor, even if stuck there and can't break through, he can still join the Dao. At that time, his strength was basically invincible under the Emperor, and he could swallow Dayan Immortal at any time. This threat is too great, and there is no background, then the entire primitive universe will have no place for him. Swallowing one is too terrible. If he succeeds in reconciliation, wouldn't those emperors become rations? It is impossible for them to sit idly by, not to mention that by that time the origin of the universe would reject him. Swallowing the original universe. Jian Wushuang exhaled deeply. Although he hadn't reached that point yet, he was already able to foresee the future, contend with the source, and even swallow it to achieve the top of the universe. Enlightenment is difficult, and harmony is his calamity. As for swallowing the universe, it is even more delusional. He didn't know if he swallowed a past that couldn't walk. Now that he was on this avenue, he had to finish him. This is not about the beginning and the end, but the way he has to go for it. If he gives up swallowing, his cultivation speed will slow down, and the intention of killing will one day be uncontrollable. Once it is backlashed, the consequences are simply unimaginable. So the true spirit of Qishan Temple said that his way is different. Chapter 5193. This rare trial, the most precious thing is these Dayan Immortals. Jian Wushuang's evil eye shrank. The causal killing on his body is very likely to be his current predicament. In this case, after he raises the Jidao to the 7th level, he should get better. Maybe just like when he reaches the 4th level, he will master other abilities. The hundreds of millions of years of cultivation in the starry sky gave him a lot of insights. Although the primordial star continued to kill, fortunately, he could get a chance to breathe. Since meeting Hui Qing, he was either desperately or fleeing for his life, and now he has some time to stabilize his strength. Jian Wushuang closed his eyes to rest his mind and began to stabilize himself. In the battle with Moron and others, the goods received were not only the treasures and achievements, but also the origins that were swallowed. Together, these origins can be comparable to the complete origin of the 9 revolutions, and it is the origin road of the 2nd rank. What he has to do now is to absorb these original powers as much as possible into the extreme path. As for the ultimate kendo origin, he has already stepped into the 6th level, and now does not need to be promoted. Even if it is a promotion, he does not dare to use the swallowed origin to improve. Kendo is the only one. It cannot be complex or chaotic. Kendo should be pure, the best by nature. The extreme Tao is different. The extreme Tao contains the origin of all Tao, and he can swallow and merge at will. As for mental strength, it can't be regarded as a Tao alone. It is a Tao tied to Kendo. The stronger the Kendo, the stronger his mental strength. Since the ultimate Kendo entered the 6th level, his mental strength has also changed, and there are signs of breakthrough. This is also thanks to the ordinary mind tree of the immeasurable Buddha. If he has the opportunity, he must go to see the Bodhi tree. It would be even better if it could be uprooted. However, this idea just flashed in my mind. This tree gave birth to the immeasurable realm, and connected the treasures that the gods and gods longed for. How could he get his hands on it? After sinking his heart, he began to merge the origins, and also split a thought power to evolve the phantom sword. He knows a lot about the Kendo formation, especially the Kendo formation in the Wangu era. In the Wangu era of Desiyu, there was an amazing and brilliant sword fairy who succeeded in achieving the emperor through the combination of swordsmanship, and even created the 3-foot sword skill, which has been passed down to this day. Among them was a 3-foot sword formation, but this formation was not complete. The master of the 3-foot sword back then was suppressed by Zhen Wuyang before the formation was completed. The big formation has 6 layers. The owner of the 3-foot sword once said that the 3-foot sword can measure the universe. There are 13 layers in total, but it is a pity that he was suppressed when the 6th layer was just created. However, having these 6 layers is enough for Jian Wushuang. As for the 13 layers that the emperor said, he didn't know whether it was true or not, or it was possible that he had never said such a thing at all. It was completely fabricated. After all, I just created the 6th floor, and said that he could go to the 13th floor and measure the universe. Such rumors are too false. Mind force moved slightly, splitting up countless Jian Wushuang phantoms, and began to deduce the sword formation together. The name of this big formation was also very loud, but it was a pity that it finally fell. Absolute immortal formation. Jian Wushuang whispered, seeing the immortals in the ultimate world domineering enough. It's a pity that you can't kill the emperor, otherwise there won't be any real Wuyang. The first 3 layers of the absolute immortal formation corresponded to the Dian Immortal. When the sword immortal was in Dian Immortal, he used this formation to achieve a prestigious Tao sovereign, and he was extremely powerful. You must know that not every Dian Immortal can become an emperor. That sword immortal was only a 3rd-rank Kendo back then. When the ninth rank Dian Immortal, the strongest is the peak Dian Immortal, but he can rely on this formation to become a Daojun. This big formation is definitely a terrifying formation that can kill the extreme Dian Immortal in his hands. Like Luo Hao's 9th-ranking consummation of the 2nd stage Origin Dao, he can match the peak Dian Immortal when he is strongest. Although he still needs to be improved, even the 3rd-ranked Dian Immortal will be able to match the peak Dian Immortal, even if he cultivates to the extreme. That amazing and brilliant peerless sword immortal was able to complete the Dian Immortal with the 9th rank of the 3rd stage Origin Avenue. comparable to the limit Dian Immortal, and also able to break out of the prestige of Daojun, which is not simple. Jian Wushuang realized the power of it just after he got into the sword formation. The first level of the Ju Xian array is also an entry point, so you need to control 36 swords, and the sword intent of each sword cannot be lower than the 9 rounds of consummation. This is very simple for Jian Wushuang, but 36 swords are somewhat difficult. Now that the Phantom Sword has just been created, it can divide the 9 swords. After this increase in strength, it will be able to divide the 18 swords. If it divides again, I am afraid that the Kendo origin contained in it will be much weaker. Fortunately, his sword intent for each of his swords is far more complete than that of rank 9. And now the 6th level of the ultimate path is comparable to the 9th level of the 2nd grade origin path. The sword intent is powerful, and I am afraid that it will be with that peerless sword fairy in the day the peak combat power of the immortal period is not much different. If the requirements can be met, the rest of the enlightenment is very simple. After all, it is not for him to create a formation. Now it is only to master a sword formation. Is it naturally much lower? Plus he has mastered the ultimate way. Being the master of Kendo, comprehending the sword formation, is even more like a fish in water. One in the cave, 3 years in a blink of an eye. The dead silence of primordial star does not reflect the power of time that blooms and blooms. But Jian Wushuang's strength is strengthened to make time meaningful. Over the mountains, the 2 9th turn consummation Dian Immortals broke apart and flew away, stopping at and near Jian Wushuang's position. One of the 2 has the top level of combat power of rank 9, and the other is Dian Immortal with weak aura and divine body frequently collapsed. Crazy Young, I will send you here. This is located in the deepest part of the mountain range. You will never encounter those powerful Dian Immortals when you recover from your injuries. With your record, at the end of the trial, you can stay in the top 10,000, and you will still be able to comprehend the origin of the gods by then. The top Dian Immortal persuaded. The persuasion was naturally the lunatic Yang, whose real name was Yang Feng, because of the fighting and craziness, so he got the nickname of a lunatic Yang. But being crazy on primordial is not a good thing. His own strength is not too strong in the 9th rank top. Because of madness, he burns his source at every turn, which makes many strong people a headache. After entering Primordial Star, he formed a team with a group of friends and accumulated a lot of achievements. However, it was too difficult for him to enter the top 1,000 with his strength, so he began to target some lone peaks, but those who can be alone. None of the Dian Immortals, the pinnacle of the main continent, could be dealt with. No, the whole team was almost killed by the pinnacle Dian Immortal. Fortunately, Crazy Young burned half of his origin and led them to escape the pinnacle Dian Immortal's pursuit. Chapter 5194. The original source has lost half, and the divine body has reached the point of collapse. Crazy Young can't fight anymore, and can only enter the mountains to provide for the elderly. If it wasn't for your timidity, that Deluo Jezi would have been cut by me. Crazy Young almost fell. His mouth was still very hard. He was not convinced at all. The pinnacle Dian Immortal they were staring at was one of the 10 emperors of the Daluo realm. 3 years ago, the 6 emperors of Daluoji in this primitive star fell 4 at once, and the remaining 2 emperors did not dare to be arrogant anymore. They had been walking low-key on the main continent. Who would have thought of how many top Dianxian actually dared to encircle and kill him, treating him as a soft persimmon, and almost killed all the strong men of that squad in a fit of anger. His friend sighed and said faintly, "Well, this time the old 7th has fallen. What do you think of us?" When he heard him mention Lao Qi, Crazy Young fell silent, and his eyes became a little red. Xiao Qi is the only woman among them, and she has always been regarded as her younger sister in the outside world. But now she has fallen for them in Primordial Star. Little 7. Crazy Young lowered his head. Okay, don't be too sad. Cultivate yourself here. After a few years, you won't be able to fight. Our older brothers will come to you and wait for the trial to end. Their strength is at the top level, and this strength also has a glimmer of hope to enter the top 1,000. and several of them have discussed it. If they are the closest to the top 1,000 in the last year, they will give up the top 10,000 ranking and place their identity tokens. Give it to that person. Let him enter the first 1,000 and enter the next round. As for the treasures bestowed, it is for those who have contributed to their achievements. Crazy Young nodded. This time he didn't say anything, but fell straight into the mountains. The strong man who sent him shook his head, sighed. His figure disappeared in a flash, and he had to go to the main continent to fight before he finished his journey. After landing in the hinterland of the mountains, Crazy Young took his breath and began to find a place suitable for hiding on foot. Now he is seriously injured and only has the strength of the ordinary 9th rank perfect Dian Immortal, so he naturally finds the safest place to hide his body. Stepped across thousands of mountains looking around. I heard that there are more than 100,000 great Yangtzeans hidden in this mountain range. Crazy Young snorted. The hidden Dian Immortal has the weakest strength, and here is the hinterland of the mountains, and there are not a few strong people who will come here. After some Dian Immortals came in, they saw that the momentum was wrong, and they hid in the mountains. Most of these people were ranked 9 Dian Immortals, weak in strength, and did not have any record in them. Killing a ninth ranked Dian Immortal has only 100 records. If you have this time, it is better to participate in a battle on the mainland and get tens of thousands of records. After these years of screening, the Dian Immortals who can survive on the main continent are not weak, and each has a record of hundreds of thousands. These talents are fat. Crazy Young continued to explore in the mountains. Although his strength has declined severely, he still has an ordinary level of consummation, and naturally he is not afraid of those cowards who are hiding. Snapped. Crazy Young stepped 1,000 miles into a quiet canyon. This place is great. Crazy Young whispered softly. After several years of fighting, he was still somewhat unwilling to end up like this, but his strength had declined so severely that he could not stay in the main continent, otherwise he would die. After stepping into the gorge, his figure flashed into the depths of the gorge. Looking around, there are natural caves that extend in all directions and are very suitable for hiding. Stepping again, directly into the cave, Crazy Young, who had just entered the cave, suddenly felt that something was wrong, but before he could react, he was stunned on the spot, and then moved forward mechanically like a puppet. Call. There are still people who take the initiative to come to deliver the record. Jian Wushuang directly controlled the seriously injured Crazy Young with a trace of effort. I have been cultivating for several years in a blink of an eye. I was thinking about leaving here in the past few days. It was time to go to the main continent to wander around. But before he left, there was a stupid Dian who broke into his enchantment. Then, under the interference of his thought power, Crazy Young walked into the cave where he was, and then directly controlled it with his mind power. Although he was also ranked in the top 100 of Primordial Star, he really didn't know the true battlefield of Primordial Star. With a movement of thought power, Crazy Young came directly in front of him. Crazy Young at this time, his eyes dull, and his movements were sitting cross-legged opposite Jian Wushuang. I ask you, how much do you know about the main continent? Jian Wushuang waved his hand, and an additional note appeared in front of him, with some rare and exotic fruits, and a jug of wine above him. These were all searched from the divine Emperor Malong. This guy has the Emperor as his father, and under the control of a chassis comparable to the middle world. It is not an exaggeration to say that he is an emperor. As an emperor, he always has all kinds of precious treasures, exotic fruits and fine wines. Jian Wushuang drank himself without a hassle. The light fragrance of the wine made people feel refreshed. After drinking, the whole person was lightly fluttering. I think this wine is also made from a lot of exotic fruits. The master of one force is good. Various treasures were offered, and this kind of wine Jian Wushuang had never heard of it. After all, this pot of wine could be exchanged for an ordinary treasure in the outside world. And Jian Wushuang was not so luxurious. Although Crazy Young lost consciousness, he still swallowed and replied stiffly, Mainland? Is it the Eclosion continent? Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. He heard the name Yuhua continent mentioned by Mo Long, and wanted to ask Emo Long about the situation of the Yuhua continent, but he thought that Emo Long had just recovered from his injuries and had not gone to the Yuhua continent for a long time. Yes, there is the main battlefield, and it looks like one day. By the way, why is that continent called the Eclosion continent? Jian Wushuang asked curiously. When they first arrived at Primordial Star, there was a dead silence here, but they didn't know anything about this week. How could that continent have a name, and everyone could agree with it? That continent was derived from a feather. Dao Monarch Blood Moon called it the Eclosion continent, and everyone followed suit. A feather? Jian Wushuang's eyes shrank suddenly, and he was shocked. How could it be that big with a feather? A feather is a continent, meeting the entire primordial star 10% of the size. No matter the feathers that fall from there, or the size of the existence of that person. This is not the law of heaven and earth. This is that the feathers that fall off are just as big. I am afraid that the existing body is comparable to a small world. So huge. He has never heard of it. I am afraid that it is difficult for the Fifth Order Emperor to do it. Chapter 5195. How strong is this divine body? Although he has not seen their bodies, he has also heard that when the 9th revolution reaches consummation, the body of special lives will cover the sky and the sun. The largest is only a few, the size of 100,000 li. The emperor and powerful like Qi Shui Xingzhe should have tens of millions of li, or even hundreds of millions of li. But the Eclosion continent is too huge, even if it is a 9th-ranked perfect great yin immortal, who can reach millions of miles. It will take 2 consecutive hours to cross the Eclosion continent. A feather is so big that existing ontology can hardly imagine. How strong is the divine body to have such a big body? Or that the existence is a strong person who surpasses the emperor? Jian Wushuang waited expectantly for Crazy Yang to answer, but the result was unsatisfactory. I don't know. Crazy Yang replied without emotion. It's not too strange. Just those people who want to understand the origin of that feather. Only through their strength and entering the core of the Temple of God can they be qualified to know who the owner of that feather is and how powerful it is. However, it is too difficult to enter the core. I am afraid that only the first few people will be able to enter the Temple of Qishan. Thinking farther and farther, Jian Wushuang shook his head, waved his hand and said, "Forget it. Let's talk about the current situation in the Eclosion continent." Crazy Yang answered quickly this time. Obviously these things were deeply imprinted in his mind. Jian Wushuang listened intently. He never expected that so many weird things would happen to the little Yuhua continent. Especially when I heard that the 6 emperors of the Daoyuo realm had fallen 4 in one day. There are also 2 unfamiliar names that suddenly appeared in the top 100. These 2 people suddenly appeared in the top 100, as if they had emerged out of thin air. The key is that there are no 2 people on the Yuhua continent. They all felt that this was a problem with the Qishan temple, and they shouted at the Qishan temple, on the only holy mountain on the Yuhua continent, and came out to explain. They worked desperately, and as a result, 2 strangers suddenly appeared in the top 100 places, and they couldn't be found. The powerhouses in the emerging continent are only those hundreds of thousands. In such a big place, they can't see them when they look up all day long. Everyone is familiar with them, and they all think this thing is outrageous. It was also madly rumored that the 3-ranked Dian Immortal entered the primordial star, and luckily encountered the collective suicide of the 4 emperors of the Deluo realm, and picked up the identity tokens of the 4 strongest in the top 1,000 to enter the top 100. Such a rumor is actually believed by some people. Most of those who believe are some of the top 9th ranks. Under the condition of survival of the fittest, it is difficult to enter the top 1,000. They all have a try mentality and want to enter the mountains. I found the 3-turn powerhouse, but after a year, I didn't find anything, and finally returned without success. After all, time is precious. Talk about the distribution of the strong on the Eclosion continent. Jian Wushuang listened more and more, and what he wanted was not gossip, but information about the strong. Feelings Crazy Yang thought about these daydreaming things as a whole. Jian Wushuang was a little speechless. He didn't know how crazy those strong people, who couldn't make it to the top 1,000 desperately were. They didn't have the strength to make it into the top 1,000, so they could only do some daydreams and discuss these conversations every day. The strong, crazy Yang's expression changed, and he truthfully said the strong from the entire feathered continent. There are 5 invincible powerhouses in the Eclosian continent. Each of them can be called Daojun. In the outside world, the emerging continent was also divided into 5 areas because of their 5. The rest of the strong can cross at will, but these 5 invincible strong cannot walk around at will. This is the rule set by the 5 of them. The 5 of them can only hunt in their respective areas and are not allowed to go to other areas. The hunting ground in the central area of the Eclosian continent is a chassis belonging to the Blood Moon Taoist. The Northern Territory is in charge of the 2nd-ranked Breaking Army, the 3rd Lungshuang Daojun. In the Southern Territory, Eastern Territory ranked 4th, Tier Heaven Dao Monarch, the 5th Wanqing Daojun. In the Western regions, the rankings of the 5 are not very different, and they change from time to time, but their status has never changed. The early battles made them famous. In the outside world, their strength is little known, but in Primordial Star, they have become a highly anticipated figure. Their ranking is actually linked to the means. The Blood Moon Daojun can rank first because he is a special life, and the secret of his talent is a blood moon, which can double the speed. No one can escape the prey he fancy. This is also the reason why he has been able to hold the first place. The lowest ranked Wanqing Daojun among the 5 is the Emperor of the Star Luo realm, who is extremely talented and is the chief emperor of the Star Luo realm. Xingluo, Daoyuo, Tianluo, and the 3 big worlds are actually a force. This is also the confidence of the emperors in the Daoyuo realm. Unfortunately, this Wanqing Daojun is not interested in them at all. But those Daoyuo Jie Dizzy was pulling his tiger skin, and he was very rampant in the western regions. The 3 higher worlds, respected by the celestial realm, are named Daoyuoshan. Luo Tian's forces are extremely united in the outside world. Even if they enter the temple of Qishan, the emperor also exhorts them not to kill each other. Wanqing Daojun has a very high vision, and he doesn't like the emperors of De Luojia at all. He pursues the ultimate. Originally, his strength could not be more diligent. Now, because of the divine temple, he can understand the origin of the divine God. The strength is improved again, and there is hope that he will reach a half-step emperor. With half a step of the emperor's strength, going to Hidao will also increase the chance of Hidao. The most important thing is to get the experience of Hidao in the Qishan temple, or some kind of secret method of Hidao. In the Wangu era, Desiyu suddenly appeared dozens of emperors. This is the evidence. There is probably something in the Qishan temple that is of great help to Hidao. You reading www.akanshu.com. Each of these amazing talents has great ambitions, and their achievements are by no means limited to the 3rd order emperor. Their goal is the 4th and even 5th order. If you don't have this kind of strong heart, it is better to choose a 4th rank origin to join the Dao and become the emperor and the weakest emperor. In addition to these Dao monarchs, Yuhua continent also has a single powerful person, each of whom can escape from Dao monarch's hands, and will not be afraid of Dao monarch's threat and wantonly slaughter other Dayan immortals. Each of these powerhouses ranks in the top 20 on the Eclosian continent. If the strong man of the first echelon is Daojun, then the second echelon is the remaining 15 extreme Dayan immortals in the top 20. Each of them has touched the threshold of Daojun, and their strength is only one step away. Those Dao monarchs are aloft, but will not leave their area without authorization. These limit Dayan immortals who touch the threshold of Dao monarchs do not have so many constraints. They can go to any area to slaughter. Chapter 5196. So Crazy Yang is even more afraid of these people. Once they feel the terrible breath, they will desperately flee or hide their breath. The Dayan immortals of the 3rd echelon are equally terrifying. They are all lonely extreme Dayan immortals, but fortunately, there are not many such strong people, only the dozens of people. In general, The real hunters in the Eclosian continent are actually the upper limit Dayan immortals. Each of them ranked in the top 100, extremely powerful. After so many years of fighting, only a few of the limit Dayan immortal had fallen, and they were unlucky enough to meet Dao's sovereign Blood Moon. There were a number of extreme Dayan immortals who died in the hands of Daojun Blood Moon. There was once an extreme Dayan immortal who touched the threshold of Dao Monarch and provoked the Daoist Blood Moon head-on, and was finally beheaded at the Lunar Mountain in the central area. This is also the most powerful Evangelion ever to fall on this primordial star. Daojun Blood Moon also became the number 1 with this record, and it has been maintained until now. On the list of cosmic gods and demons, almost all of the top 1,000 are Daojun extremely powerful, and the top 200 are mostly half-step emperors. His ranking is extremely high. On this primordial star, the highest ranking of the universe gods and demons is not him, but the extremely low-key 10,000 star Dao Sovereign, a peerless powerhouse who cultivates the origin of 10,000 Dao. He ranked 218th, second only to the existence of the Emperor Bamboo. With such a terrifying strength, he was extremely low-key on primordial star, ranking him the worst among the 5 Dao monarchs. These 5 Dao monarchs, Jian Wushuang kept in mind that all the information of these people is very precious, especially that they have cultivated the kind of genius which is very convenient for him to escape. Dao Sovereign of 10,000 stars who is stronger than Juyu, Dao Sovereign of Blood Moon, with the highest speed of primitive star. The degree of danger of these two people is too exaggerated. One can't escape when they meet, and the other doesn't even have the courage to fight. There are more than 200 superpowers in the universe. Half a step away from the Emperor, 1 step away, the Dayan Immortal with the unity of 10,000 ways. In addition to these people, Jian Wushuang also took down the information about the Pinnacle Dayan Immortal one by one. Although the general Pinnacle Dayan Immortal could not threaten him, he still had to write it down. Because in the Eclosian continent, the biggest enemies are still the peaks of the Great Fairy Immortals. Some of these peak Dayan Immortals are relatively lonely and walk alone, and some are shameless. 3 or 5 gather together to siege and kill some ordinary rank 9 teams. In the emerging continent, below the peak of Dayan Immortal, there are almost no solitary people, each of which is a group of more than a dozen strong men. Crazy Yang and his team have been running around in the western regions, because there are the least limit Dayan Immortals there, and their team is of high quality. Each is the top Dayan Immortal. 9 people form a team, fighting all over the place, and they have also made some breakthroughs. Title. However, it was precisely because of this that he dared to provoke a Pinnacle Dayan Immortal, and in the end the source of the fight was consumed by half. Then how much record did you get in total? Jian Wushuang said slowly, but his eyes revealed a trace of killing intent. Crazy Yang's record now determines his life and death. If there is more, he will be killed. If there is less, he will be let go. A lunatic who consumes half of his original power cannot be swallowed by Jian Wushuang. He has contributed so many useful things. Information, it's not impossible to let him go. 970,000. Crazy Yang said stiffly. So few. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. He spent many years in the main continent. With this record, waiting for the end of the trial, it would be difficult to keep the first 10,000. But when he thinks that he will fight with the other 8 people, he will understand. Come over, frown, play with the taste. But it's also your good luck, more than 1 million. I really won't let you go. He would kill if he said 1 million in his heart. But he wouldn't kill 1 million. Even if the difference was 30,000, he would not kill. This is the state of mind of Jian Wushuang now. Okay, just think about whether there is anything interesting. Jian Wushuang ate and drank to the top. He hasn't been so relaxed for a long time. Since entering the Great Wilderness, he has either been moving bricks, or desperately fleeing, breaking through, practicing, confused, and fighting. Nowadays, 1 drink and 1 peck has greatly helped his mood, and he has confidence in the 5th level of his mental strength. On the emerging continent, there are many alliances of weak and small people. They are all elites of some big powers. They are in a group and several Dao monarchs will not act on them by default. There is this kind of weird thing, Jian Wushuang sneered. He had a hunch that these people would be killed as pigs in the last few years. Whereas Qishan Temple, the greatest opportunity in the entire primitive universe. Even the emperors are crazy about it. Even more so than to mention their dying immortals. Those few Dao monarchs who don't want to succeed in the same way, who don't want to fight for the first place. What can they do if they offend the big forces? If they succeed in the way and become a fourth-order emperor, they will still be afraid of those big forces. Under the emperor are ants. No one will offend a fourth-order emperor for them. These people will not foolishly think that they can really do whatever they want. When the time comes, several Dao monarchs will kill the pigs and serve them in a pot, which is faster than chasing down the peak Dayan immortals one by one. It has been 6 years since the Temple of Qishan was opened. There are millions of Dayan immortals, and now there are a few left. If everyone looks forward to the future, can such a person die? According to Crazy Yang, there are still 300,000 Dayan immortals in the emerging continent, plus more than 100,000 hidden in the mountains. In just 6 years, the primordial star has died at least 2 million Dayan immortals. With a record of more than 40 million, he only ranked 72. Isn't that the top 10 with hundreds of millions of records? How many Dayan immortals have to be killed? Even if some 9th rank leapfrog kills 9th rank perfection, it's not will swell the record to this point. And this is the ranking 3 years ago. Now he has fallen out of the top 100. 2 million are small. When he got the identity token, he took a cursory look. Primordial Star has 3 million Dayan immortals. Now it is estimated that the remaining is less than 500,000, and more than 250 died. 1 Dayan immortal. According to the ratio of 9 ranks and consummation Dayan immortal, converted into a record, it is tens of billions of records. Especially in the first 3 years, it was extremely crazy. When Huiqing killed Luo Hao barely entered the top 1,000 with a record of only 1 million. But now the 1 million record can't even get in 2,000, and when the last few years are really crazy, the first 10,000 won't be able to hold. According to his current calculations, entering the top 1,000 requires 5 million records. Entering the top 100 requires more than 50 million records. The top 10 requires 500 million, and the top 5 requires more than 1 billion. But the crazier the better, the more he kills, he doubles anyway. As long as he kills 10 pinnacle Dayan immortals, he will be able to sit firmly in the first place. With a record of 5 billion, even if the Blood Moon Daojun can kill it, it will be useless. Chapter 5197. The first layer of the Juxian array has completed the training, which can increase the combat power of the sword formation by 3 times. Originally, the 9 phantom swords could threaten the peak Dayan immortal. Under the control of Huiqing, he even cut Miluo. Killed. Now that it has tripled, it shouldn't be too difficult for him to deal with the peak Dayan immortal alone. However, he also set a time limit for himself. 20 years and 20 years of fighting must return to the mountains. 20 years later, after the trial is over, there are only 3 or 4 years left. By then, several Taoists will surely liquidate them. The ranking of this original star alone can't prove anything. They are going to sprint for the overall ranking. Of course, this is just Jian Wushuang's guess. No one knows whether there are so-called hidden rules in the Temple of Qishan, but everyone wants to be active in front of the Temple of Qishan. Jian Wushuang put away the case in front of him, slowly got up. The treasure that suppressed the breath circulated with it. There was no breath on his body, except for the naked eye. He couldn't feel his existence at all. You are lucky this time, I will spare your life. Crazy Yang seemed to understand something. A gleam of light flashed in his sluggish eyes. By the way, if you enter the Eclosion continent, you must join a certain organization, which is of great use. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and joined a certain organization? He hadn't really thought about this. With his strength in the emerging continent, he had reached the point where he didn't need to form a team. There was no need to go to anyone anymore. And he would restrict others by then. Why? Jian Wushuang said lightly. 3 years ago, in the western part of the Feathering Continent, a monk had emerged from nowhere. The combat power was very powerful. He lost several top teams. However, he did not kill any of them. He just accepted their identity order. The card, even the treasure, was not captured. This monk is called a demon monk, and his strength is comparable to the limit. And the stronger he is in Vietnam, he has reached the threshold of Daojun. Today, even the peak Dayan immortal has begun to hold a group. That monk is too terrifying. In the chassis of the 5 princes sweeping wanton, the efficiency is comparable to that of the princes, and the combat power is strong. Crazy Yang said, his voice trembled a little. Their team had watched from a distance the scene of the demon monk sweeping the peak Dayan immortal. A long stick stirred the world, and the earth changed color, and several extreme Dayan immortals were planted into his hands. Monk! Jian Wushuang frowned, and quickly took out his identity token to check. Trial, Hui Qing ranking. 16. Jian Wushuang took a breath, couldn't believe it. When he was separated from Hui Qing's strength was almost comparable to the Dayan immortal, who touched the limit threshold. How could he be the Taoist in a blink of an eye? Didn't he just break through the 9th rank? Even if it is the 9th ranked Dayan immortal of the ultimate way, he is at best the ultimate Dayan immortal's combat power. Could it be said that his 9th ranked Dayan immortal is complete? Jian Wushuang added his lips. He knew that Hui Qing had a big secret, but he didn't expect him to hide so deeply. And he was so fierce as soon as he left. In only 3 years, it has been ranked in the top 20. Hui Qing's goal is probably to be the top 10, or even win the first prize in the hands of Daojun. However, if he breaks through to become the 9th rank consummation, I am afraid it will be difficult to fight for the first place. If he is still the 9th ranked Dayan immortal, then the chance is quite big. After all, he can get a doubled record after leaping. Where is he now? Jian Wushuang couldn't help asking. He and Hui Qing are also considered practitioners of the same generation, and Hui Qing's sudden eruption is different from his step-by-step to the top. Although Hui Qing had cultivated for 30 million years, he was not a fairy before entering the great wilderness. In the end, when he faced Xiang Bingyan, he suddenly broke out and entered the Tao with 1 step, directly contending with the 9th turn to consummation. At that time, his Tao was still unstable, and now it seems that he has completely mastered the ultimate Tao before he burst out of such strength. Jian Wushuang is different. He has been training for more than 20,000 years between life and death. Step by step, stepping on the path of God, destroying God's dynasty, getting help from Xian Yi, and finally entering the big division domain, and getting many emperors of gifts, reluctantly became the ultimate immortal. This is the result of his more than 20,000 years of hard work. After entering the great wilderness, he awakened his mind, entered the starry sky and practiced for hundreds of millions of years, mastered the ultimate path. And only after he came out did he really take off, constantly breaking through. In less than 10 years, he has the combat power of the pinnacle Dayan immortal. But all of this is based on the foundation of more than 20,000 years, plus hundreds of millions of years of cultivation in special places like the starry sky. Now that Hui Qing took 2 steps 1 step at a time, he was directly stronger than him, which made him a little unacceptable. Could it be that Hui Qing also entered the starry sky at a certain moment and practiced for hundreds of millions of years? The chance of this is very small. If Hui Qing enters the starry sky, at least he has mastered the extreme way, but he has not felt any similar aura from Hui Qing. In addition to these, there is one possibility left. Hui Qing is the chosen son of Qishan Temple. It was the Temple of Qishan that cultivated Hui Qing in secret, and it was even more puzzled to think of Jian Wushuang here. To be reasonable, his talent is also good, so why doesn't the Temple of the Gods come to train him? Or is it because of the Temple of Qishan that he can awaken his mind and master the ultimate path? Jian Wushuang was lost in thought. He didn't know that he had been said to be dead by the true spirit of the Qishan Temple. He believed that he could not go far, so he did not invest in him. The Temple of Qishan is indeed more optimistic about Hui Qing. Among all Dayan immortals, Hui Qing's talent can enter the top 10, and he is the key successor of the Temple of Qishan. And Jian Wushuang and the others are just stepping stones for these heirs. Huiqing didn't want to kill. Others would not. For the sake of a few successors, I am afraid that 90% of the Dian Immortal in the universe would have to be sacrificed. After all, Dian Immortal is not an emperor. After an epoch, Dian Immortal will spring up like bamboo shoots after a rain. The emperor may need a longer time, but for the Temple of Qishan, these are nothing. After clearly comprehending the purpose of the Temple of Qishan, the evil aura on Jian Wushuang's body unconsciously exudes the true spirit is no more than a true spirit no matter how strong it is. He regards the creatures of the primitive universe as beings. When Gu came to raise him, Jian Wushuang could take this opportunity to change himself, and he could help each other. If Jian Wushuang finally fell, the true spirit clapped his hands and applauded. Even if he passed it, and he didn't fall, he could also take the opportunity to recruit Jian Wushuang into external forces. No matter what, no loss. The abacus is very good, but it depends on Jian Wushuang's disagreement. The next moment, Jian Wushuang's figure reversed, and the evil aura turned into black lightning surrounding him, making crackling noises from time to time. This breath made Crazy Yang feel terrified in the sluggishness, and his body couldn't retreat on its own. Jian Wushuang pierced the rock and saw the entire primordial star at a glance, and disappeared into the cave in a flash. Crazy Yang, who stayed in the same place, also woke up at this moment. Chapter 5198. The Hohu. Crazy Yang panted heavily. After his eyes returned to normal, there was a bunch of memories in his mind, which instantly turned in his mind. From the memory fragment, he was sweating behind him. Unexpectedly, I met such a powerful existence and survived. He couldn't believe it. Crazy Yang, who was a little weak in his whole body, tried to sense the surroundings, and he took a sigh of relief after discovering that the existence had left, and then immediately rushed out of the mountain range, turned around, and changed 7 or 8 places in a row. Dropped his heels on a quiet hill. Although Jian Wushuang said that he had let him go, he was still afraid that Jian Wushuang would suddenly repent, and finally survived. It is not clear that he did not want to die. That existence can be a superpower that can be controlled, and you don't need to do it yourself to kill him. If you directly order him, he will destroy his origin. This kind of legendary method was met by him today, and he was lucky to survive. After entering a cave, it took a long time for him to be relieved, and then he remembered that this existence had gone to Eclosion Continent, and quickly notified several brothers in Eclosion Continent. Brother, be careful of this person. After starting from the mountain range, Jian Wushuang did not move fast all the way, and it took most of a day to move out of the mountain range. He didn't even meet a living person along the way, and he didn't know whether it was his bad luck or the other people's luck. Although there is no madness on the feathered continent in the mountains, there are often a lot of fights. Especially in the periphery of the mountains, a checkpoint has now been set up. This fellow Taoist, am going to the Eclosion Continent. On a dry riverbed outside the mountains, there stood a Dian Immortal who looked like a scholar, with a gentle aura and an extraordinary conversation. If it is outside, Jian Wushuang really wants to sit down and discuss the truth with the other party. But now this is a primordial star. After more than 6 years of fighting, none of the survivors is easy to talk. Even people like Huiqing were called demon monks, not to mention the white-faced scholar in front of them. Others may not be able to see through, but with Jian Wushuang's thought power, the opponent has a strong resentment and evil aura. Both auras are suppressed by the white-faced scholar in his heart. If other people are extreme Dian Immortals, it would be ugly. Out of the breath hidden in his body, just walking out of the mountains and meeting this kind of person, Jian Wushuang didn't feel anxious, wanting to see what tricks the other party was playing. Exactly, Jian Wushuang clasped his fists slightly. The breath he exudes gives people the feeling that it is at the top of rank 9, and this strength can be regarded as the basic combat power in the Eclosion Continent. It's great. In the next Injio, I just left the mountains and want to go to the Eclosion Continent. Taoists can go with each other, and they can also walk together on the road. But I heard that there are many strong people mixing in the Eclosion Continent. If they don't go down, They will form a team outside the mountains to intercept the practitioners heading to the Eclosian continent. Ren Yinjia's words are perfect. It shows that he left the mountains for the first time, without the scorching Dian immortals, on the feathering continent. It also metaphorically threatens Jian Wushuang. There are people blocking the road. It is best to keep company together otherwise. If you go to the Eclosian continent alone, you don't die too much. This trick to deceive a little novice monk like Hui Qing is okay. To deceive Jian Wushuang is a bit of pediatrics. He really thinks he is a fledgling and stinky hairy boy. They are all Dian immortals. How can there be so many fools? But thinking of the two fairy queens in the Great Dream Realm, Jian Wushuang didn't dare to be sure. The original universe was so big, there might be many fools. Oh, there is such a thing. Jian Wushuang's expression leaked a hint of surprise, and his eyes were a little timid. Give Ren Yinjia an illusion, and Jian Wushuang's aura is well grasped at this time. He wants to hide it, but also leaks, not to mention the peak Dian, even the top Dian. You can see that he is revealing strength. Next, the two of them began to discuss the Eclosian continent with each sentence. Ren Yinjia was overjoyed and cried secretly that he had caught a fish, and began to fencing Wushuang's name. Brother Ren, it's true that he has just entered the top 100,000 in the ranking below. This time I went to the feathering continent to fight for a chance. After all, the opportunity is rare. Jian Wushuang said truthfully. What he said was indeed nothing wrong. This time he went to Yuhua continent to fight for it, and get a good chance. By the way, he stepped on the limelight of those Dao monarchs. The top 100,000 did not lie to him. He is now ranked more than 100, and he is indeed in the top 100,000. By the time it was Ren Yinjia's name, he had flipped through the rankings for a long time, and it was really up to the end, with a total of 10,000 records. This made Jian Wushuang a little surprised. Are these people fishing now looking for someone with a clean foundation? Still, this Ren Yinjia is fake. Through the conversation, it was learned that Ren Yinjia had recruited a few like-minded Dian immortals, and there were still a few short of them. They were all scattered around to recruit Dian immortals from the mountains. According to what he said, the mountain range was blocked by a powerful force on the Eclosian continent a month ago. It is fine to go out, but it is really impossible to go in without any strength. Going out with weakness is a death, and it is difficult to live. Most people who want to go in are injured or have given up. The first 10,000 have no hope at all. It is cheaper to stay in Yuhua continent. It is better to leave early. However, there are more people going in than going out. It seems that the current battle on the emerging continent has changed significantly. After all, the quota is only 10,000 except for the top 1,000 peak powers. There are still 9,000 places. After these years of screening, the emerging continent has been able to persist in these years, and the lowest is the 9-rank consummation. These Dian immortals are all hugged together. Thousands of people form a battle formation. Even if the extreme Dian immortal encounters it, it will have a headache. Although they have the strength to protect themselves, it is also very troublesome to kill others. After all, it is a battle formation. Once they are inconvenient to move, they can't chase and kill other Dian immortals. Among these people, a well-known strong man came up with a wonderful plan. That is, no more than 1,000 people in each battle formation, and hundreds of battle formations are formed. He will fight by himself, and finally leave 1,000 people behind. Can enter the top 10,000. This person is the senior master of the years, who once entered the top 1,000 with the strength of the Nineth-ranked Dian immortal. Now his ranking is not low. If his battle formation can persist to the end, maybe he can really enter the top 1,000. Jian Wushuang couldn't help but admired the leader of the years. He would be blinded if he didn't go to raise Gu. I didn't expect Brother Run to know so much about the various anecdotes on the Yuhua continent, and he was taught under him. Jian Wushuang was indeed the first time he heard of it. When he asked Crazy Yang, he mainly asked those top powerhouses. I have cared about those ordinary ninth-turn consummation. Chapter 5199. The You Are Polite Fellow Taoists. These rumors were also told to me by a fellow Taoist in the team who had been to Yuhua continent. Not only was the 9 ranks consummation, but in the earliest days, the 1,000,009 ranks Dian Immortal did the same. Unfortunately, they all died in the end. The white-faced scholar's voice revealed regret. They are still promising. Those rank 9 Dian Immortals are miserable. They are almost dead, and most of the rest are hiding in the mountains. Jian Wushuang also nodded. The Nineth rank Dian Immortal is indeed the worst group of people. Millions of people are slaughtered in the Emerald Continent, and they can't fight the battle formation formed by the Nineth rank successfully. In the end, they can only hold hate. Fall. After the two of them regretted for a while, Reningjiu felt that it was almost done. So he said, "Brother Wushuang, the people to be assembled are almost the same. We should also set off." Before they knew it, the two of them had chatted for a few hours. Jian Wushuang's thought power moved, and at the moment he sensed that several other powerful men were rushing here. It seemed that their group had really summoned a few Dian Immortals who had just come out of the mountain range. Ha! 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 After just a few breaths, 7 or 8 top Dian Immortals appeared directly in front of them. "Brother Run, you have recruited someone for such a long time here? Is your strength so weak?" Just when he appeared, a top-level Great Yin Xian with strong limbs glanced at Jian Wushuang with an unkind look, and said with disdain, "The others are okay, they just smiled awkwardly." Ren Yinjia's complexion changed, and he forbeared his anger, and said, "Brother Kuei Shan, this fellow Taoist also has a top level of strength, so there is no need to say it's so bad." At this moment, he has the heart to kill Kuei Shan. This Kuei Shan was recruited by him the day before, and it was the first time he went to the Feathering Continent. However, his strength was extraordinary, and he was also the top of the top powerhouses. It is not good to be negligent. After all, it is the team of Renin Group 9. Kuei Shan finally just snorted, taunting. "Well, since Brother Ren hired him personally, if he drags his feet, you can give it to him too." Jian Wushuang frowned and his face was angry, but in his heart he secretly said that this person should be not in the same group as Reningjiu. And he didn't know that it was the stunned green that appeared, and he didn't know if he was sold. Friends of Taoism should not be blamed. Brother Kuei Shan's temper is like this. Reningjiu laughed awkwardly, and immediately changed the subject, and talked about the route to Yuhua continent. "Dear friends, the Yuhua continent is at most 3 hours away from here. But this road will pass through many dry riverbeds and dry lakes. In those places, there are many hidden powerhouses who specialize in intercepting the lonely Dian Immortals. Or a weak team. Didn't you talk about this a long time ago? Let's talk about how to go." Kuei Shan said impatiently. His strength is not weak. He also dominates one side in the mountains, and his personal combat power can be ranked in the top 10,000 of this primitive star. The reason why he chose to team up to Feather Continent this time is because there are several strong players in the team. He thought, holding his thigh. Reningjiu recruited Jian Wushuang, an ordinary top-level Dian Immortal, whose strength was much weaker than them. Everyone wants to recruit some powerful teammates. He doesn't know what Reningjiu is thinking. Especially the strong recruits from the other strong players in the team are also average, not much different from his strength. Only he recruited a powerful Dian Immortal. This is also the reason why he dared to mock Jian Wushuang in front of Reningjiu. "Okay. Actually, I have already planned the route we just need." The route set by Reningjiu was to bypass the periphery of the western mountain range. They entered the Eclosion continent from the north. Because of Huiqing, the western part is now in chaos, and many peak Dian Immortals have taken refuge, and the western periphery is very chaotic. After everyone felt that it was okay, they nodded their heads and left without dragging their feet, and began to cautiously bypass the west and enter the outer periphery of the southern continent. Passing through countless dry riverbeds and dry lakes, there are broken battlefields that can be seen everywhere on the earth. The primordial star is big or small. The closer you are to the feathered continent, the bigger the battlefield below. After all, it is millions of big. The place where Yinxian fights. Jian Wushuang was also observing these people along the way. A group of 8. 3 of them had the same breath as Ren Yinjius. and the remaining 4 except him were the strongest among the top Dian immortals. The strongest Black, the old man in robes, has the strength comparable to Luo Hao. The Kuei Shan, who had previously spoken badly, followed the black-robed old man closely, and he didn't do much flattering along the way. Along the way, Ren Yinjiu did not fail to tout their plan to go to the Eclosion continent. What to say? I went to the Eclosion continent, strengthened the team, established a top-level Dian immortal team with about 20 people, and arranged a formation that could kill the peak Dian immortal. Except for the old man in black robes, everyone else was very yearning for these words. I just don't know if they can enter the Eclosion continent alive. Although the strength of these people could not threaten him at all, Jian Wushuang got used to it carefully and always pretended to be himself. His thought power covered 100,000 miles around him, and he was always on guard. Ren Yinjiu dared to play this way on Primordial Star, and the forces behind him were absolutely extraordinary. He himself said that the entire western continent was messed up, and the peak Dian immortal started to flee. In case there is a pinnacle Dian immortal behind him, he really has to be careful. As long as he is not at the peak, then there is no threat to him. Now he has completely mastered the 6th level of Ultimate Sword Doctrine. When dealing with the top-level Dian immortal, there is no need for a Phantom Sword test. Only the Heart Sword world can deal with the average top-level swordsman. Yen, the Heart Sword trial has the power of the peak Dian immortal, but he doesn't need to use a sledgehammer against the top Dian immortal. It's just that there has been a lack of a handy supreme sword. Although Calm has obtained a lot of innate treasures from the Emperor Malong, it does not have an innate treasure sword, only a top-quality treasure with a good appearance. In the past few years, after perfecting the benefits of the breakthrough that he has received, his whole cards have also accumulated, and he will not be as stretched as before, and temporarily break through to bet his life. Now there is the Eye of the Beast God with the trump card, which can deal with the peak Dian immortal, and the universe can deal with the limit Dian immortal, and the Phantom Sword can even threaten the ultimate Dian immortal. In addition, although his strongest absolute immortal formation is still a little behind Huiqing, he is only rank 6 now. Looking at the entire universe, looking at the entire long river of time and space, it is difficult to find a rank 6 Dian immortal who can kill the pinnacle and rival the limit. Jian Wushuang was very satisfied with his own strength, step by step, climbing up step by step. Until reaching the peak, Hadao and Emperor are his goals, but not his end. On the road of practice, the end is the end of life. As long as you don't die, you will keep going. Chapter 5200. Primitive Star. Feathered the western part of the mainland. In a riverbed separated from the western mainland, several powerful Dian immortals were sitting cross-legged in the mud under the riverbed. Primitive stars have a very high degree of toughness, and at most they will enter the depths of about 10,000 battles underground. Because of the density, they lurked in the underground 10,000 battles, almost isolating the breath from all over the body. Even the top Dian immortal would not be able to find them when they passed by. And of course he couldn't help anyone else. In the dark and quiet mud, a burly giant slowly opened his eyes. Lao Jiu is coming soon, get ready to act. The burly man whispered secretly. People like them have been waiting here for several days, just for this moment. Thanks, Tusk, if I go well this time, I will have 1,000,000 records. The triangular-eyed old man was pleasantly surprised. They couldn't mix in the western mainland, and they came to the outer riverbed to intercept and kill those Dian immortals who were alone. But this kind of life is not long, the scope is so wide, and after bad luck, they will not meet a single person in a year. And there are also great risks. After a few of them put together, they let old Jiu replace a 9-turn consummation Dian immortal Ren Yinjiu, who was placed under house arrest by them. Borrowing this Xiaobai's identity, he went to the mountains near the mountains to cheat some Dian immortals, who had never been to the Yuhua continent. Not to mention, this method is really effective. They used to take a desperate risk for a year without getting much record. Now they have intercepted and killed Dian immortals several times in just a few months. These Dayan immortals who have never been to the feathering continent have few records on their bodies, but they can't stand up much. Moreover, it is very safe, and the powerful Ren'injia will not bring it. Attention, people are coming. The burly man said hello, and everyone broke out. Jian Wushuang and the others hadn't reacted at all, and a towering black dragon rushed out to their front door. No, retreat quickly. Ren'injia was delighted, and on the surface he really called everyone to step back. But after this retreat, it was discovered that a black dragon at the back was even more fierce. Ren'injia and the other 3 black-robed men instantly changed their body shapes and hurriedly avoided. Jian Wushuang and the others are quite miserable. In order to conceal their strength, Jian Wushuang straightened up and faced the black dragon rushing forward. This dragon has the destructive power of the top Dayan immortal, but for Jian Wushuang, it is only same as Tickle. Now he has the innate treasure armor. The moment the black dragon appeared, the pitch-black war beast armor had covered his entire body. After tens of thousands of levels of weakening, Jian Wushuang would eventually endure the attack like an ant bite. For the remaining few people, the black-robed old man was indeed about the same as he expected. He was very powerful. He slapped the black dragon with one palm. His figure flashed and escaped the attack from the rear. He was in a state of danger and showed the demeanor of a strong man. Kuei Shan's strength is average in the top class. Although he was a little embarrassed when facing the black dragon, fortunately, the black-robe old man defeated the front black dragon, and he barely avoided the attack from the rear, and his body quickly approached the black-robe old man. Take a breath. The last person had bad luck, and was directly torn to pieces by the black dragon, and fell on the spot. A group of 8 people. 4 of them are their own, and the remaining 4, according to their original plan, killed at least 2 in this attack, and then Ren'injia and the others sneaked out the remaining 2. Only 1 person died now, and a powerful black-robed old man suddenly appeared, making their plan had to change. Ha! 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 The intercepted people appeared. Jian Wushuang and others also stood together in a group. Ren'injia's expression changed. He turned his head and glanced at the people behind him, then looked at the group of intercepted people, wanting to transmit sound. But so many people stared at him, and did not dare to transmit sound to remind him. Ren'injia, what road did you take? Kuei Shan complained. If you go around like this all the way, you can hit others in the face. Jian Wushuang frowned and snorted immediately. I'm so afraid of death. If you come to the emerging continent, if you want to be safe, you can hide in the mountains and don't leave it ashamed. After finishing speaking, the figure still leaned against Ren'injia. This Kuei Shan is now the black-robed old man on the list, and he dared to directly question Ren'injia face to face. However, he had a good vision. If he was to please Ren'injia from the beginning, he wouldn't know how he died until he died. Just now Jian Wushuang was able to resist a black dragon. Kuei Shan also found Jian Wushuang's strength is extraordinary, not weaker than him. Now he is in the same boat, and now it is not the time to quarrel. His face sank, and he stood in the black-robed old man. Don't say anything behind me. As the leader of the team, Ren'injia had to come out and say a few words. There was no way. Now a strong man who exceeded their expectations suddenly appeared in the team, breaking their plan, and having to continue the show. If they are just one person, they don't need to be like this. The black-robed old man is more powerful than them. If it's just one person, so many of them besieged, they may eventually be injured, but they will also kill the other party. But now that Jian Wushuang and Kuei Shan are still alive, the strength of these 2 people is not weak. At this time, they turned their faces, and these 3 people held a group. If they wanted to besiege, they would have to pay a few people to win each other. Brother Kuei Shan, I was really abrupt this time. But there will always be various risks when I come out to do things. Besides, isn't it just for us to come to Yuhua mainland? Ren'injia said with a trembling face, www. Novel. The 3 Dayan immortals who were with him also stood up at this time, to comfort them together. All the people have stabilized the situation, so that they will not wait for the interception to take action, and they will fight themselves. Forget it, let's solve the immediate problem first. The strongest black-robed old man stared gloomily at the few dying immortals who had come to intercept them, especially when he saw the burly man. There was a trace of fear. He can feel that the opponent's strength is not weak, and he has reached the threshold of the peak great immortal. Compared with his strength, he is not much different. He is also at the peak level, but looking at the opponent's posture, he is obviously prepared. He also has to be careful of traitors appearing in the team. Ren Yingjiu did not dare to look at the black-robed old man. After all, his strength was not as good as that. It was too easy for people of the level like the black-robed old man to kill him. There are also distinct levels among the top dying immortals, and they are at most the top dying immortal. Zheng is a bit stronger than ordinary ones, but against those who are about to reach the peak, there is a huge gap in strength. Everyone, you also took the money to buy the road. Can you let us go? It's the first time I have left the mountain. I don't have much record. Ren Yinjui opened his mouth and became soft. At this time, it is too obvious that he advocates fighting again. He can only make things difficult for the other party. How can he rush to fight with the other party? As for the money to buy the road, it was naturally the hapless dying immortal. One of the lighting was killed. He didn't know how he died, so he called Jian Wushuang secretly. It was a pity. To download the latest TXT ebook of this book, please click mobile phone reading of this book, publish book reviews. In order to facilitate the next reading, you can click on the favorites below to record the reading record of this time. Chapter 5200 Interception. And you can see it next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 5201. That is a strong man with a complete top-level source avenue. Just like that. The evil aura in the heart spread unconsciously. He hasn't paid attention to the achievements of these people yet. But this place is so barren. If all of these people's origin avenues are swallowed, it would be wonderful. He just got up with this thought. But he didn't know that it made the other strong players in the team smell a dangerous aura. As a powerhouse with a peak level, the old man in black robes had so deep thoughts that Jian Wushuang could see it. He also saw that he was inseparable. At this time, he also felt that the team was filled with murderous aura. The burly man tilted his head, first glanced at the old man in black robe, and then calmly said, "Do it." Ouch! The roar of the giant dragon shook the sky and the earth, instantly hovering over the riverbed, its size covering the sky and the sun. Ren Yinjie was also taken aback by this scene, and hurriedly shouted, "Everyone gather together." The more people are scattered, the more difficult it is for him to do it. Only when everyone gathers together can they have a chance to attack again. Ren Yinjie, I think there is something wrong with the situation. The number of the other party is not much different from ours. If the sneak attack fails, you dare to fight with us. I am afraid there is something strange. The black robe old man's eyes are cold, but his figure is always backing away. In other words, it is the old rivers and lakes. He has survived for hundreds of millions of years. At this time, he can see that he has been tricked by these rascals. Kuei Shan had been following the old man in black robes. At this time, he also retreated, and the two stood together. Now only Jian Wushuang was left with Ren Yinjie and the others. "Old Nine, let's do it." Seeing that the matter was revealed, the burly man confessed directly and rushed to the black robe old man. In their opinion, this time it was a hard bone. But just as Ren Yinjie said, he always has to pay back when he comes out, although the bones are hard to gnaw. But there is a lot of meat. According to intelligence, the black-robed old man is named Chimang, the top 10,000 strong man, and he has a record of millions of dollars. If you gnaw this bone, he can divide at least half of the record. Among these people, he is the strongest, and he must have the most effort. Naturally, he will get the most record, and this time he won't necessarily get one or two. Personally, he will have a good receipt by then. The three of you killed him. I will help Big Brother deal with Chimang. Do it quickly. Ren Yinjie completely leaked his nature at this time, and his whole person was as gloomy as his name. As soon as the voice fell, without even looking at Jian Wushuang, he broke through the air and left. Although Chimeng is strong, he has the most records on his body. He is just a fly meat. No one is watching, staying free to deal with it together. He has already given enough face. Kill. The remaining 3 powerhouses didn't talk nonsense, and killed them directly. You tore your face so soon? Jian Wushuang felt meaningless. He wanted to see how they were going to play. He didn't expect that this burly man would be too stupid. In his opinion, at least it is necessary to act like a little bit. It is not a rush to do it after everyone trusts each other. If you want to be exposed at this time, it seems that you are ready for a big battle. With the power of thought spreading, Jian Wushuang didn't give these people the opportunity to do anything. He originally planned to do it on Ren Yinjiu first, but he didn't expect that he would run away first. Mind power is like tiny worms, crawling into their minds and depriving them of their original power. The 3 of them have distorted faces, and their bodies can't move a bit. The armor on Jian Wushuang concealed his body, leaking his original appearance, and slowly walked out of the 3 of them. Now these 3 people are no longer humans. After the source of power is drained, even the gravity of the original star he couldn't bear it, and he fell directly from the air. Fortunately, the divine body was still stronger, leaving a whole corpse, but his face had completely fallen off. This is caused by endless pain that cannot be stopped. Solving these 3 people easily, Jian Wushuang also obtained tens of millions of records and 3 ray of origin power. Does the side effects appear so quickly? The evil aura on Jian Wushuang's body leaked unconsciously, and he couldn't suppress it even if he wanted to suppress it. If he kept swallowing it, he didn't know if he would be swallowed by this evil aura. This feeling has only appeared suddenly after entering the temple of Qishan. He swallowed the emperor's ruin in the outside world without any side effects. Is it because he swallowed the origin of living people? Jian Wushuang didn't care about this either, because his origin was growing, and as long as the growth rate of the origin exceeded the growth rate of the evil aura, he would be able to suppress it in his body forever. After killing these 3 in an instant, Jian Wushuang's figure concealed in the void, vomiting cross-legged, and quickly cannibalized the 3 strands of origin power that had just been swallowed. On Chimeng's side, it was extremely tragic. 1 person resisted the siege of the 9 people. Kuei Shan could only contain 1 person, Ren Yinjiu, and it seemed that he was not an opponent. You stinky boys dare to calculate. The red Mang roared, and a red halo burst out from his body. His strength skyrocketed to the true peak of Dian Immortal's strength. Chiwe, a huge moon ring appeared behind him, directly suppressing the black dragon. Without the restraint of the burly man, the rest of the few who were close to strength were directly shaken out for tens of thousands of miles, vomiting blood, and seriously injured one after another. Reningio, you hurt me. The burly man was suppressed and unable to move. The gap between the threshold and the door was still too large. His Dao is also general, only the 3rd rank origin. It's okay to bully some ordinary top-level Dian Immortals. If you really meet those 2nd rank origin top-level Dian Immortals, others can burst out peak combat power, but he can only wait to die. Ren Yinjiu saw that his eldest brother was no longer good, and he had no intention of fighting again. Wanna go? Kuei Shan also noticed the form of the field and immediately yelled, and he did not hesitate to burn the source, and he stopped Ren Yinjiu. Senior Chimeng, don't worry. I can't escape with this despicable villain. All will have to die. Kuei Shan laughed. He has been on the road to please Chimeng this time, and it is considered to have confiscated the goods, waiting for Chimeng to kill. Ren Yinjiu will also get a fortune. Ren Yinjiu didn't pay attention to Kuei Shan's obstruction, and hurriedly shouted at Chimeng. Quick! Kill them! Be careful of Jian Wushuang. This person has a problem. As soon as Ren Yinjiu's words fell, Jian Wushuang appeared behind him. Am I that scary? Puff! The corners of Ren Yinjiu's mouth were blood flowing. He lowered his head and glanced at the palm that passed through his chest, then turned to look at Jian Wushuang behind him. His eyes rounded, and finally, in the unwilling eyes, his body collapsed and the source was pulled away from him. Body of. It's actually increased to 20%. Jian Wushuang pulled out his arm, and Run Yinjia's blood still remained above it, but he didn't care about it at all. Chapter 5202. He has been able to devour the power of mind, to refining the source of absorption, into a complete two. What kind of concept is this? As long as he kills the 5 ultimate ways of Dian, he will be able to come up with a complete ultimate way. Of course, the premise is that the 5 ultimate Dian immortals he killed are all the same Dao. This is too rare. The key point is that he still has no ability to kill those half-step emperors, who master the ultimate path. My Ji Dao is changing, and I finally know what Ji Dao is. Jian Wushuang felt the expansion of Ji Dao, and now he understands what Ji Dao is. The extreme path is all-encompassing and contains all the avenues, whether it is the ultimate way or the ordinary 5th-rank avenue. It can be integrated, and it has just swallowed the 3 roads, namely the earth, thunder and lightning, and water and fire. Although these 3 roads only swallowed 2 cost sources, they made Jian Wushuang have a deep understanding of the earth, thunder and lightning, water and fire, and the origin of the extreme roads was also more intense. While Jian Wushuang was still comprehending his origin, Kuei Shan was stunned on the spot, and Ren Yinjia's words just made his face sink. Dead. Chimeng's expression changed. Ren Yinjia planned these people with him, and eventually he died first, but if he died, he swallowed the record of these people alone, and could already hit the first 1,000. Give it to me. Red Mang roared, and a dazzling light shone on the earth, directly obliterating all the other Dian immortals except the burly man, as well as the original divine body. No! Jian Wushuang's eyes widened, and so many Dian immortals were all dead. Although these people were of average strength, Ji Dao was not picky. Kuei Shan was standing aside, and was rushed thousands of miles away by that mighty air wave, before he could barely stabilize his figure. Go! The current scene is very unfavorable for him. The crowd is okay, but now there are only a few of them, and Jian Wushuang has exploded with great strength. Although he has pleased Chimeng all the way, he does not think this person is reliable. It's okay to team up together, but now everyone is dead, there is no need to stay. Chiman's eyes rolled, a moonlight flashed across, and he said coldly, I want to go. This time Jian Wushuang didn't give him another chance. Just as the moonlight broke out, he was stopped by a starlight sword aura. Heart Sword World. Today's Heart Sword World has included all the sword moves of the first 5 levels of the Ultimate Way. Once the world projection is deployed, countless sword intents will condense, and each sword shadow can threaten the peak of the Great Emperor. The current Jian Wushuang didn't need to use all his strength to deal with the ordinary pinnacle Dian immortal. Moreover, Chimeng's strength was average, not as strong as Luohao's outbreak, and he didn't even need a heart sword test to kill him. His figure flashed again, and he had already reached Kuei Shan's eyes. How could he be so strong? Kuei Shan was also taken aback by the scene in front of him. Chimeng suddenly broke out and killed everyone, and then tried to kill him again. If it weren't for Jian Wushuang, he would have just fallen. Now that Jian Wushuang took the initiative to save him, he thought he would be saved this time. Whoever wanted to take Xia Jian Wushuang and turned his head would be a sharp sword aura, a huge head through an arc, and hot blood sprayed on Jian Wushuang's armor. The Tao of Origin, which had not been broken in the future, was swallowed by thought power in an instant. The way of the mountain. Jian Wushuang was overjoyed. The power of the earth can improve his control over the power, and the way of the mountain can improve his divine body. It is a pity that only 20% can be swallowed, and Quishan's mountain path is only a small origin, a 3rd-rank origin. His improvement is limited. After the swallowing and fusion, he can feel that the divine body has only slightly increased. Although it is very small, the cost is accumulated. This is a genuine increase, not an increase in the eye of the beast god. The divine body has always been a threshold for Jian Wushuang. It is too difficult to break through, and there are few pitiful methods for divine body breakthrough in the universe. The methods that can improve the divine body are all anti-heaven methods that are derived from the structure of a special life, and only those few peak forces have such methods. This kind of pinnacle knowledge requires countless treasures to get started, and it is extremely difficult to practice. However, the divine body is too important for practitioners. Once the source is mastered, it will be dead. The body is only the second improvement of the source. The path. How many people step through the entire universe to search for the precious exotic fruit that increased the divine body, and ultimately increased by 100-fold. But if cultivation increases the of the original divine body, as long as the cultivation is completed, there will be 1,000 times the increase of the divine body, and then practicing a method to increase the divine body will approach the special beings in terms of the power of the divine body. Now Jian Wushuang only has the eye of the beast god. If you want to cultivate the to increase the divine body, you have to enter the peak power. Although he is the ultimate swordsman, he is not a big deal to the peak power. Only the fourth order emperors are talented. We'll pay attention to it. But if you want to cultivate to increase the faculty of the divine body, you also need a great contribution to be able to practice. As for the Dian Immortal under the Emperor, how much you can contribute, it is impossible for you to achieve it in your life. The starting point is to succeed in harmony, become the ultimate emperor, and become the most peak existence. At that time, the entire peak force will please you and cultivate the genius. Naturally, it is not difficult. Jian Wushuang shook his head secretly. He really became an emperor. He still cared about this. The path of alien fruit is even more impassable. Although Dian Immortal can travel in the primitive universe, there are too many dangerous places in the universe. A turbulent flow of time and space enters some dangerous places, or the universe of some special lives. In the secret realm, he is in danger of falling, not to mention going in to find a different fruit. It is difficult to get out even if he wants to go out. Swallowing one is now a shortcut for him, and he can increase his divine body without the need for faculty and strange fruits. Jian Wushuang's eyes were red, and he looked at Shimang. One way of the month, so. Only the burly man and the red man are alive now. www. Until novel. The route of the burly man is so ordinary. I can't see the avenue he is walking on. It should be a side door avenue. The current Jian Wushuang just wants to hurry up to feather the continent and hunt down those who master the path of the mountain, or comprehend the law of the wood path to condense the path. These two avenues are the avenues that mainly increase the divine body, and it would be better if there are special lives. Now his strength, there is hope to deal with some weak special lives. Among the special lives, there are some weird lives, such as vegetation and other special lives, which are great tonic for the divine body. This type of special life is generally born and taken away by the big forces. Every part of their body there are treasures everywhere. This type of special life, even if it becomes an emperor, is a great tonic for practitioners. Every time this special life is born, it will be a gluttonous feast. This kind of feast, tens of thousands of chaos era can hardly appear once. Jian Wushuang has also heard of it, let alone seen it before. Chapter 5203. Shimang, who felt Jian Wushuang's rich murderous intent, was surprised. He conspired with Ren Yingjiu this time, aiming at this burly man. So when recruiting players, he chose only a few ordinary Dian Immortals, but he didn't expect the team. A pinnacle powerhouse actually mixed in. This fellow Taoist, this person and us can be divided equally. I don't know what the friendship is like. There was no change on Qi Mang's face, quietly looking at Jian Wushuang, waiting for a reply. If you can avoid a battle, it's better to avoid it. This is the border of the feathering continent. He doesn't want to work hard here. Even if he surrenders this burly man to Jian Wushuang, he has already made millions this time. The record. This time I've earned enough. I don't need to fight Jian Wushuang anymore. And it can be seen from the surface that Jian Wushuang's strength is not weaker than him. And the world projection is not weaker than the strength of the domain. Suppressing his strength and fighting Jian Wushuang here. He is not sure at all, but it shouldn't be difficult to save his life. Ren Yingjiu said a word. I agree very much. Come out and do it, and always have to pay it back. If I am not so strong, this time I will die in your hands. Jian Wushuang replied lightly. He has no reason to share a burly man with the other party. He glanced at the dying burly man, and then at Jian Wushuang. A threat came quietly. Qi Mang's eyes were full of fear, and he just wanted to quickly leave this ghost place and avoid Jian Wushuang's gaze. But he didn't wait for him to move. A powerful thought and heart force suppressed him at the same time. Fortunately, he has the strength of the peak of the great immortal, and his body can move. It will not move like other people, and can only wait for death. But now he is no different from waiting to die. He found that he could not even bear the gravity of the primordial star, and it was very difficult to move, like a snail. The brain has also become very dull, and his thoughts, speed, and strength have been weakened. This maybe, how could it happen? The Chimang, who was a little uncomfortable, watched Jian Wushuang approaching in a daze, but there was nothing he could do about it. Eclosion Continent, Northwest Junction. 1,000-member Dian Immortal team went straight to the outside of Feathering Continent. This team of thousands of people is led by a top-level Dian Immortal, and the rest of the strength is similar. They were originally a battle formation composed of consummation Dian Immortals. They had been besieging the peak Dian Immortal in the Western Continent, or fighting each other with other battle formations. They would not stop until the Great Formation collapsed, and both sides had worn out more than half. The people who go down are to form a new battle formation together, and their leader needs to fight one-on-one with the opponent's leader, because a battlefield can only be controlled by one person, and only one person can lead the battlefield. The manipulator of this large formation is very remarkable. He has killed several large array manipulators, and has been leading the battle formation in an attempt to destroy all the battle formations. Unfortunately, they met the demon monk in the Western Continent, and the entire battle formation was destroyed by one stick. The 1,000-man battle formation had a combat power comparable to the limit Dian Immortal, and it was broken with just one stick. On Emerging Continent, those who can break the battle formation with one blow, except for a few Dao monarchs, are those who can rank in the top 20, and each of these people is extremely terrifying. They were also unlucky. They encountered the demon monks who had just risen in recent years. If they encountered other half-step monks, they could deal with each other. But the demon monks were terrifyingly powerful, and they were the top existence among half-step monks. Fortunately, this demon monk didn't kill, but only received their identity tokens. However, losing their identity tokens also meant that they were out. On the entire Yuhua continent, he was like a moving stone, and no one paid any attention. Everyone, after leaving the Feathering Continent, let's separate. The leading top-level Dian Immortal looked at the people behind him, feeling very sorry. Seeing those who followed him in the battle again and again, now that they have no identity tokens, they are completely out of the Temple of Qishan, and all these years of fighting have all been busy. In the end, only a fate was left. Since entering the Temple of Qishan, they realized that Dian Immortal can be strong like this. Each of them is the pride of the heavens in their respective worlds. After becoming the 9th revolution consummation, they are even the elders of some sects, or the elders of the heavenly court. The younger ones are also the Daozi, the emperor, or the chief of a certain sect. The future is bright. Now for the opportunity of the Temple of the Forbidden God. How many people fell into the Temple of the Forbidden City in a daze? These people are still lucky, and they can survive when they meet the demon monk. If they meet other strong people, I am afraid they have already fallen. The speed of a group of people is not fast. Without the identity token, they are not as good as a stone. And even if they meet a few strong people, they will not panic at all. You can feel the lifeless atmosphere of this group of people far away. Recently, this group of people has appeared in the Western Continent so much, and many people have become accustomed to it. Everyone on the border of the Western mainland, looking back at the place where they once fought, can't help but sigh. Farewell everyone. Take care. These people come from different big worlds, so it's hard to see each other again. They may not meet each other for the rest of their lives, if they are not emperors. Do not. Jian Wushuang, who had already seen a long and curved mainland coastline, also saw the group of Dian Immortals, and quickly approached with a move in his heart. Jian Wushuang, who had just cleaned up Qi Meng and the others, had a fierce aura. Although Crazy Yang had received a lot of news about the emergence of the continent, he just arrived. He really didn't know what was going on in the West. This group of Dayan immortals also felt Jian Wushuang's fierce aura. Now most of the people who go from the outside to the Western continent are extreme Dayan immortals, but they have no identity tokens, so naturally. Not afraid. With a flash, Jian Wushuang appeared in front of everyone. Looking at their scared expressions, Jian Wushuang was stunned. According to what he understood, these people should be those who are in the battlefield, but why they didn't group when they saw him? Array. And one by one doesn't seem to be afraid of him at all. Is it that the current battlefield is so crazy? He has the confidence to kill them all in one sweep. Waiting to see me, why not be afraid? Jian Wushuang stared at everyone coldly. The leading immortal Dayan clasped his fist slightly and said respectfully, "Senior has just arrived. Maybe I don't know that now there has been an existence no less than Taoist in the Western continent, who specializes in sweeping away these battle formations like me. The tokens have been taken away, and they are about to leave the Eclosion continent. Although there is no identity token, and no fear of the strong coming, but at any time, we must treat a strong with the utmost respect, and offend the strong, whether it is in the primitive star or the primitive universe, it will cause catastrophe." Chapter 5204. Especially in primordial stars, no one will avenge them even after they have fallen. Jian Wushuang stood in the air and nodded slightly. So it's like this. With a movement of thought, the identity token in his mind appeared, and the ranking above changed for a while. The ranking of the top 5 Taoists hasn't changed much, but the first 20 fights are extremely fierce. The 5 great lords will still be constrained, but these halfway gentlemen are not afraid of the Taoist monarchs, and they are not affected by anyone. They just keep killing. The top 20 rankings depend entirely on who kills fast enough, and who has enough means. Ruthless. The 6th place now is Ji Chaoyang. This peerless figure, who cultivates the unity of 10,000 ways, is an emperor from the Apocalypse God dynasty. He has only practiced for tens of thousands of years. He is a peerless arrogant talent that has not been born for hundreds of millions of years. Consummation should have the strength of a Taoist monarch. Jian Wushuang sighed in his heart. This Ji Chaoyang should be the strongest person with the biggest background on this original star. The Apocalyptic dynasty is one of the 3 dynasties of the Ion Tower, and the royal family of the Apocalyptic dynasty is the Ji family. This Ji Chaoyang is still a prince. He is valued by the 4th order emperor of the Ji family, and the treasures on his body are no less than Malong. The number is not as large as Ji Chaoyang. This Ji Jiatianjiao has been following in the footsteps of Wu Daojun, and his ranking has always been 6th. The 7th place is the newly promoted demon monk, who has made the top 10 in just 3 years. Jian Wushuang looked at his ranking again. He had reached the 22nd. He originally thought he would be in the top 20. It seemed that the ecumenization continent was getting more and more crazy. 10 years have not passed. These people are crazy like this. Seeing these unscrupulous people, Jian Wushuang's eyes rolled. The origin of thousands of people, there is no reason to let it go. Although there is no record, killing is equal to killing in vain. But Jian Wushuang can swallow their avenue. And many of this group of people are Dayan immortals who perceive the origin of wood, which is a great tonic. There was an evil aura in his eyes, and the powerful thought power instantly eroded these Dayan immortals, let alone thousands of Dayan immortals. Even if they formed a large formation, he could instantly make these people lose their combat power. This is the horror of mental strength. For weak opponents, it is almost horizontal, and is absolutely not afraid of any crowded tactics. Mind control, plus mind swallowing. The effort of a cup of tea leaves only a dilapidated corpse, and Jian Wushuang has long since disappeared. The origin avenue of thousands of people, although it only absorbs 20%, it can't hold up the crowd. Thinking of viewing one's own origin avenue, especially Jidao, the entire origin is as wide as a small lake, and the lake is full of lotus flowers. Each lotus flower represents an avenue. Among them, the highest growth is the earth, wood, mountains, water, and fire are very common origin avenues. The current Jian Wushuang can be said to be omnipotent. Every avenue has a level of more than 7 floors, and some have even reached the 9th floor, and they can join the road. But if he is in harmony, I am afraid that he has to abandon all the avenues, even the ultimate kendo. Jian Wushuang secretly guessed in his heart that he would not have to cultivate all the Tao to perfection when he joined the Dao in the future. Let him succeed in the Tao one by one. If so, he couldn't imagine how difficult it was. This is billions of times more difficult than the ultimate way. 10,000 ways in one. Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up. Isn't this also the oneness of 10,000 ways? Although the name is a bit exaggerated, the genre of unity of 10,000 Tao is also practiced through the integration of several avenues in order to go to unity. In other words, the unity of all avenues is the prototype of the utmost Tao. If tens of thousands of avenues are really merged together, it may really be able to reach the level of the utmost Tao. However, this road, the more the weaker the gap may not be obvious. But in the later stage Jian Wushuang can predict the terrifying aspects of Ji Dao. That is never ending. And there is also the improvement of thought power. And the devouring. Maybe there will be a qualitative leap to the 7th floor. Jian Wushuang randomly found a small hillside, sank directly to the bottom of Wanzhan, and began to retreat again. This time swallowing so many Dian immortals, he had different views on many avenues. And he could have a foreboding that he would break through all the time. Rank 9 Dian immortal is at your fingertips. As short as 3 to 5 months, and as long as 3 years, he has the hope of breaking the mirror. Although there will be less and less doubling after the breakthrough. But now his demand for record is really not very big. Even if he becomes the 9th rank, and only doubles 10 times, he is confident to rush into the top 3, and even win the championship. Moreover, after breaking through rank 9, his strength will undergo a qualitative change. At that time, he will have at least the strength of a half-step Dao monarch. Maybe he can leap into a Dao monarch, and he will be no less than a half-step emperor with his own combat power. The eye of the beast augments the divine body, and the origin of the cosmic augmentation of one mind, the combined combat power of the two soars more than 10 times. After sinking deep underground, Jian Wushuang simply arranged an enchantment, opened up a secret room that was several battles long and wide at will, then sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes to understand the origin. Even though he is only rank 6 now, he can feel the luck that the emperor said. As soon as Qian said, he didn't know much, but those emperors who succeeded in harmony with the Tao, what they learned when they were in harmony with themselves is Qi luck. And now Jian Wushuang can also feel the feelings of those emperors who succeed in harmony. Harmony is difficult, and if you want to succeed, isn't it related to luck? But he didn't know that this so-called Qi luck contained too many things, one of which was merit Qi luck. Now he runs counter to the merits, and his murderous aura is heavy, especially the evil aura on his body. If he is in the primitive universe, as long as he reveals this evil aura, he will definitely be rejected by the primitive universe. Because this evil aura is so similar to the aura on the body of Taboo Demon Lord, it's almost exactly the same. Fortunately, this is the Temple of Fortune. The origin of the primitive universe cannot detect anything. Although the primordial universe does not know, the true spirit in the origin sea of the Qishan Temple can be seen clearly. Zhenling stared, watching everything Jian Wushuang had done, jumping with anger. Damn it! True spirit frowned. Dirty road. He doesn't deserve to appear in the Temple of Qishan. Come here. Go to Jiajiu Primitive Star quickly and start a new heritage. In the Sea of Origin, a red hall appeared, and a young woman wearing a fiery red armor walked out slowly. Master True Spirit, this is not in line with the rules. The woman bowed slightly to show respect, then raised her head to look at True Spirit, and said heavily, according to the Master's account back then, the trial of Primordial Star cannot be changed at will. Turn on the inheritances 3 years later, and it will be opened before the time is up, I'm afraid. Before the woman finished speaking, Zhenling coldly snorted. Zhu Yi, don't forget, the old master refined you to cooperate with me. Now that the old master is not here, you all have to listen to me, understand? Chapter 5205. Zhu Yi blinked and wanted to refute, but didn't know how to speak. She is indeed just a refined puppet, but she has the exquisite heart bestowed by the gods, and the body is also injected with the power of origin. Except for the structure of the body is different from that of people. She uses everything else that she should have. Especially he can also practice and improve his origin. What Qixin gave her back then was the origin of the Sixth Order Emperor. And coupled with the exquisite heart of the seven orifices, she was no weaker than any emperor and strong. Yes, Zhu Yi is not an ordinary puppet. She knows that this temple of the gods is already a true spirit. She can't help but obey her orders. Modifying the scheduled time is not a big change, and they can still accept it. She had to go back later and work with the other 3 hall masters to have the authority to open the hidden inheritance of the primordial star. The highest trial is not simply fighting each other. Nowadays, the performance alone cannot fully stimulate the potential of these Dayan immortals. More intuitive treasures and inheritance are needed to enable these Dayan immortals to fully stimulate their potential. After Zhu Yi retreated, the Sea of Origin fell into calm again. Seeing Jian Wushuang continue to grow, the true spirit couldn't stop him, so he could only watch. Now that the inheritance was opened in advance, although he could not stop Jian Wushuang, he was able to use the Dao monarchs on the primordial star to deal with Jian Wushuang. Turning his gaze, he looked at the sky curtain where Huiqing was, and he let out a cry of regret. Little guy, I gave you this opportunity alone, and it can be considered to make up for your loss. Zhenling raised his hand and gently pointed. A stream of light entered the sky and fell on Huiqing's head. Looking in the sky, it was inconspicuous, but from the primordial star, it was a magnificent beam of light, falling from the sky, and the powerhouses of the entire emerging continent raised their eyes one after another. In the huge light curtain, it is Huiqing who shines. The thick eyebrows trembled slightly, Huiqing's eyes were deep, and the throbbing that had been pressing in her heart broke out instantly. Snapped. Huiqing was paralyzed on the ground, sitting cross-legs with difficulty, forcibly enduring the various memories and mixed origins that emerged in her mind. The thing that had been under his heart began to eat away at his body. Huiqing closed her eyes tremblingly and roared. Aha! The pain in his mind made him roar uncontrollably, and an ancient breath began to invade the breath that originally belonged to him. A beam of light falling from the sky. This kind of abnormality soon attracted countless strong people to come, and the entire western continent was chaotically turned into a pot of porridge, and they rushed in Huiqing's direction. Extreme Dayan Immortal, Half-Walking Monarch, and even Wudao Monarch took one step at this moment, breaking through the sky. The few strong men who arrived first looked at the figure in the beam of light and said, "It turned out to be him. Monk, sure enough, it is enchanting enough to make primordial star change." An extreme Dayan immortal looked at Huiqing in the beam of light, with jealousy and envy, turned his head and glanced at the other former. Now the Lord of the 5 Great Paths has not come yet. If this beam of light is a chance, then this is his only chance. Once the other strong come, he has no chance to speak of. Fight! The strong man gritted his teeth, and directly tore the beam of light into the beam of light. Other powerhouses were also taken aback, and they could still be like this. Go in. The great venerable Fan actually went in. When everyone was amazed, another strong man was also trying to enter. But this Dayan immortal's strength had not reached the limit, and he could not tear the beam of light. Look at it, great venerable Fan actually. Everyone turned their heads to look at Fan again, and found that his origin began to fail. His breath continued to decline, and the whole person was softened. Obviously the divine body was also drained, and the whole person finally turned into a mass of blood and evaporated. In the beam of light, everyone who saw it trembled. This is the limit Dayan immortal. The great venerable Fan, an extreme powerhouse who had been famous for a long time in the great world, just fell. With the lessons learned, everyone dare not act rashly anymore. Time is like water, drop by drop. More and more powerful people outside the beam of light have also gathered. And finally the Wanqing Daojun, who has been sitting in the western hunting ground all year round, has arrived. Wanqing, as the name suggests, a white robe engraved with starlight, a face of national character with mighty domineering, with deep star eyes. A domineering dominance above 10,000 swept the audience. Daojun, the 10,000 star god emperor. Wanqing, many strong players on the scene greeted one after another. Although they are usually hostile, the original star has changed. This is an unprecedented thing. The ranking of the record has now entered a state of anxiety. It is not bad for a while. Some half-walkers met with the Wanqing Taoist. Although they were afraid, they still shouted Wanqing. This person is Huiqing, the monk head of the world of Tongtian Buddhism? Wanqing crossed the crowd, hovering outside the beam of light, staring at Huiqing himself inside. Exactly. A pinnacle Dayan immortal with quick eyes and quick hands, hurriedly approached the Wanqing Daojun. He came earlier and said everything he knew like pouring beans from a bamboo tube. Many people frowned and scolded the flatterer secretly. Wanqing Daojun frowned when he heard Fan's entry, and turned into a cloud of blood, but he nodded. From the beginning to the end, he didn't even look at the strong man next to him, who explained the ins and outs of him, and finally just said a little. In the West you can live. A simple sentence made everyone present tremble. This is to warn them that this person is protected, and no one can kill him. This is the deterrent power of Daojun in the Eclosian continent. One sentence allows a person to survive. If anyone resists this Eclosian continent, he has no place to stand. The other peak Dayan immortals are all annoyed. www.mulnovel.com, especially those who are the first to come. Daojun's promise. This value is too great. The key is that they don't have to pay much. With good luck and the sharp-eyed peak Dayan immortal, he hurriedly bowed and thanked him. And after doing all this, he stepped aside wittily, and didn't bother Wanqing Daojun. This episode passed quickly with the wind. The most important thing now is to figure out why the beam of light shines on Huiqing. It seems that Huiqing is cultivating inside, which makes everyone on the outside very anxious. If it is the first-ranked Daojun blood moon with this treatment, they will not say anything. After all, it is currently the number 1, but Huiqing, who is now ranked 7th, does not have the strength of Daoquan, and is not ranked first even before. 3 of them didn't make it. Why would they be specially taken care of? Causing the primordial star to descend the beam of light. Through the enchantment in the primordial star sky, they could see other primordial stars. The other primordial stars are now the same as before, without any changes. Only their primordial star has this situation. They didn't know that the true spirit in the Sea of Origin was spying on this scene across the sky. Chapter 5206. This little guy was quite strong in his previous life, and it seems that I have to help you again. Zenling's eyes turned steadily, and the fleshy beards at the corners of his mouth fluttered. Forget it. I will prepare it for you sooner or later. I will give you this magic circle. The true spirit dropped it casually, and a golden ring was thrown into the sky. This made Zhu Yi, who was stationed in the primordial realm, raised his brows and cursed in his heart. This old guy is getting more and more shameless, and he has thrown the eternal treasure at will to a little guy who is just Dayan immortal. Although the true spirit is the master of the temple of Forbidden God, she is also refined by the old master, and she is also the person in charge of the peak trial. May the 5 domains of the world correspond to the 5 domains of the original universe. These Dayan immortals are responsible for their Vermilion Bird Palace. Now that the true spirit is so tossed about, all her plans have been messed up. The peak trial emphasizes fairness. Now that Huiqing has opened the back door, she also has to distribute inheritance to other primordial stars in advance. Zhu Yi, does the old man Jinling attach too much importance to Dayan immortal? A mighty warrior with cyan armor walked into the ancient hall, his tone obviously unhappy. Although she also disagrees with true spirit's approach, primordial realm is her chassis. These selected Dian immortals will become her subordinates if they succeed in coordinating. Only the strongest people will inherit the differences. God's inheritance, and the rest after thousands of selections, can be regarded as Tianjiao. Since the Temple of Qixin has smashed so many resources, it will naturally not be wasted, and it will definitely be paid to its subordinates. In other words, these Dian immortals are her people. Long Yi, the bloodthirsty continent, is staring at those emperors. Why are you here with me? Zhu Yi said with a cold face and a low voice. Also, these Dian immortals are my people. You come to comment. Hurry up and go back to your bloodthirsty continent. Haha, I like your violent temper. Long Yi was not angry, but instead sat on the throne on the side, jokingly said, Of course I have something important to come here. I heard that Zhu Qi will go to other places. The universe plundered Dian immortal, who controlled the ultimate way, and was beaten to death by a sixth-order emperor. I didn't care about her. Let's take a look. The Dian immortal of the primitive universe, indeed, could not saturate the strongest trial of the Qixin Temple. According to the True Spirit's instructions, the Vermilion Bird Temple sent the remaining 6 Vermilion Bird envoys to other universes to plunder. But it was a coincidence that there was one. A Tier 6 existence was born in the universe, severely wounding Zhu Qi. But fortunately, the puppet that was refined and was pregnant with a treasure barely escaped. The horror of the Sixth-Order Emperor, she herself knows, because she also has the Sixth-Order combat power. But now the first stage of the original star trial has been accelerated. She has to plunder enough before the first stage of the trial is over. Yanxian starts the second phase of the trial. This time, we have plundered almost tens of thousands of Dian immortals from other universes. And there are hundreds of Dian immortals, who are half-step emperors who control the ultimate way. The others are either the second-ranked top source, or the unity of 10,000 ways. The pride of heaven in every universe. It's fine if the other universe doesn't have a sixth order. And now I can only say that they are unlucky. If it weren't for her to sit in the primitive world, she would have gone to find the sixth-order emperor to avenge her subordinates. An aboriginal sixth-order emperor. A sixth-order emperor who did not even comprehend the secrets of the universe. She still doesn't care about it. But now she doesn't have time to take revenge. Zhu Qi's injury has been repaired. I thank you on her behalf. You can go. Zhu Yi said impatiently. Long Yi curled his lips and said again, I have one more thing to discuss with you this time. The situation in the bloodthirsty continent has changed. Every one of these emperors is honest. My bloodthirsty continent is not a primordial star. The hundreds of millions of people who are still living are all direct descendants that I have cultivated with all my heart. Now these emperors have almost given them to Huahua. They can no longer be allowed to stay in the bloodthirsty continent. If they stay, the mainland will have to collapse. The bloodthirsty continent is the base camp of the Azure Dragon Palace. The entire continent is 1/10 the size of the universe. There are hundreds of millions of people living on it, and many powerful people have been born. These people have joined the Azure Dragon Palace, and are regarded as the direct line of Dragon One. But since the emperors of the primitive universe were allowed to enter the bloodthirsty continent, the whole continent was disturbed. After these emperors entered, they didn't ask about inheritance. Instead, they started fighting each other for the chassis, fighting hard, and the Shenlu who was fighting almost collapsed. In the end, he personally came forward to stop everyone. The trial of the emperor is not trivial. Every emperor's temple is ready to recruit his subordinates. But now that the emperors of the primitive universe have not yet gathered, the emperors of other universes are also rushing here. According to the regulations of the gods of the year, the third-order emperors recruited 10,000 people, are considered to be saturated, and the emperors below the third order need as much as they need. Only those first-order and second-order emperors will sell their lives to them. The third-order emperors are different. Most of their paths have not yet been completed. They are all staring at the positions of the fourth-order, fifth-order, and even sixth-order emperors. Even some outstanding ones, such as Xinwiang and Tongtian Buddha, are not only aiming at sixth-order emperors. It's that simple. Even if there is no Qixin temple, They all hope to enter the Fifth Order Emperor. Their goal is to reach the top of the universe. For this kind of emperor, a simple treasure or a little increase in strength can't satisfy their appetite at all. Only some core inheritance can satisfy these powerful emperors. There are too many inheritances contained in the original sea of the Qixin Temple, but these inheritances are counted, and they are for cultivating those who evolve immortals and great immortals. The secrets of the universe that can make the emperor's eyes greedy. www.novel.com. The Qixin Temple will not be easily taken out. These emperors are the darlings of the universe. Each of them is the protagonist between the heaven and the earth, not the fairy and the great. Yinxian can be compared. Even the Temple of Forbidden God can't manipulate them at will. The two sides can only exchange each other's needs. Now that Long Yi came here to ask for help, it was obvious that he couldn't restrain the group of emperors. I heard that there is an ultimate emperor. Zhu Yi asked curiously. The ultimate emperor was extremely precious in ancient times. And there can be an ultimate emperor in the primitive universe, which is much more precious than those sixth-order emperors. There is indeed an ultimate emperor, but the true spirit has already promised to deal with the party, and will talk about it alone. Long Yi smiled slightly. Although the other party is only a fifth-order emperor, it can be the ultimate existence. Looking at the long river of time and space, there are not many. The emperor is too precious for the Temple of Qixin. It's a pity that it was not cultivated by the Temple of the Gods, and will not work for the Temple of the Gods in the future. This kind of existence can only be good. And while he has not grown up, he will give him some benefits, and he will have great achievements in the future. And it will also be able to help them. Temple of Qi. Chapter 5207. After Zhu Yi heard the conversation with Zhenling in person, his face changed slightly, and his expression was puzzled, and he was surprised. Talk in person? What the is this old man? But the master has stipulated that the emperor must not lightly tell him. Is he going to open the back door again? Thanks, Tusk, it seems that you don't know much, Long Yi said with a dry laugh, and then lowered his voice. The ultimate emperor has created the prototype of the universe secret law. Although his strength is tier 5, he has already entered the origin of the universe. The threshold is up. Do you know what this means? The origin of the universe? Zhu Yi's eyes shrank suddenly, surviving countless reincarnations, and traveling a long time in space. From ancient times to the present, she has seen too many powerful men. The overlord of the starry sky such as the god of Qi, or the right arm of the god of God in the beginning, are all existences at the master level of the universe. However, since the fall of the Qixin, the Temple of the Qixin has drifted all the way, and there have been many long rivers of time and space. But if you want to see the Lord of the universe who was incomparably powerful in the ancient times, there are few and few, some weak time and space rivers. Even when there is no master of the universe. Now the ultimate existence in the primitive universe has created the prototype of the universe secret method, and has stepped into the threshold of the origin of the universe, and is still a fifth-order emperor. When he enters the sixth order, how strong will his strength be? By mastering the secret method, and mastering the origin of the universe, you will become the master of the universe, and also the master of the universe with the ultimate way. This is even less in the long river of time and space. The true spirit mentioned to me that the future achievements of this ultimate existence are not trivial. He is also qualified to know the secrets in the Temple of Qixin, and the true spirit will pass on to him a copy of the inheritance that the master once received from another existence. Even the master attaches great importance to the inheritance. It was originally intended to be given to a few masters, but unfortunately it was ruined before it was sent. Long Yi sighed at this point. The gods of ancient times were very powerful enough to reverse the rivers of time and space, make the universe annihilate, and let time stand still. But in the end they were still defeated by fate. Although the two are just puppets, their moods are no different from ordinary people, after they have the 7 orifices exquisite heart. And there are also some people's emotions and sorrows. Zhui took a deep breath, exhaled slowly, and said calmly, "This kind of powerhouse, even if the master is still alive, will be taken seriously, let alone now. You still talk about it. What the is going on? I am still waiting for the group of Dian immortals to select inheritance, but I don't have time to talk about those emperors with you. Haha, it's really far, and I have forgotten business." Long gave a big laugh, and then said, "I think your side is strange and clean. These little guys are all trialing on Primordial Star, and the Emperor on my side is nothing. It's better to leave you here for a while, and when everyone is there, I will make another plan." The emperors who stayed in the primitive universe were only able to fancy a few of them. After the rest of the peak trial was over, he sent them into the Sea of Origins and gave them some benefits. The ones that he fancy are hanging in the Temple of Qishan. Personal name, given some treasures and inheritance, and in the future, the Temple of Qishan will go to other time and space rivers. These people will follow if they want to follow, and they don't want to follow them and don't force it. This thing is nothing to the Qishan Temple, not even a dime. As for those monarchs below Tier 3, even if they are unwilling to follow, they will force them with them. In their opinion, these weak emperors are still good to control, at least obedient. Throwing a bit of trash can satisfy them. Why bother to train those third-order and fourth-order emperors, who have a strong appetite for general strength? The Temple of Qishan. The opening of the peak trial is to seek the heir of the Qishan. The emperor is no longer suitable to be an inheritor. Zhui frowned. Now her side was messy enough. Put these emperors in. She still had to stare at these emperors, and she had to prepare for the inheritance, and her messengers were plundering Dian immortals everywhere. The 4 halls have been born since the start of the highest trial. Shuangwu Temple is responsible for the trial of evolving immortals. Suzaku Palace is in charge of Dian immortal. The Qinglong Temple is in charge of the emperor. The White Tiger Palace is a bit special. They need to stay in the Qishan's inner hall for a long time. They will never interfere in the trial. However, the strong ones selected in the future will be sent to the White Tiger Palace. Although there is no inheritor in the White Tiger Palace, it can be used to prepare for the inheritance. They are not idle either. Now in the 4 main halls, there is nothing to do with the Qinglong Hall, just watching a group of emperors. And for this, she has to push it to her. Absolutely impossible. There are no extra people on my side to stare at these emperors. Zhui refused. You should go to the Shuangwu Hall to check it out. The selection of Yanxian is not faster than Dianxian. Xiao, maybe it's almost over. Just to send these emperors over to raise their horizons. Oh, don't mention it. I just came over from the turtle snake. The wild beasts caught on the primordial star are not enough for the immortals to kill. I went to the turtle snake just now to find me for a sharpening stone. Or if it weren't for me. Run fast. He will take my children to feed those immortals. Longi looked sad. The controller of the 4 main halls, Baihu, controls the secret realm of the inner hall. But the lowest key, the controller of Qinglong Temple, Long Yi, sits in the bloodthirsty continent. There is the richest piece of land world in the Qishan Temple. He is in that world, and is cultivated below. Countless ethnic groups claiming to be the main god. He is the most protective of shortcomings. Zhui's temperament is rather cold, and in one sentence he gave all the wild beasts in the primitive realm to the Xuanwu Temple, and destroyed countless planets to create 180 primitive stars. In this way, I will let the 4th child look at these people, and by the way, let the 6th and the 7th go to other universes to help you plunder Dian immortals, the Sholing slaves. These people are clumsy and inefficient. Longi said cheerfully. Zhui was a little moved. Her side was too short of people. The original source of plundering Dian immortal was those of the spirit slaves, but their efficiency was too low. She had to let her envoys go to other universes to plunder Dian immortal together. Now Longi agreed to help. She just vacated a place for the emperors to stay here for a few years, and this business could be done. Okay, it's a deal. Zhui thought for a while and directly agreed. Haha, I just like you as a happy person, not like a tortoise and snake. Long Dashi, I will let them in. People are outside. Long Yi continued. By the way, let them enter the Vermilion Bird Palace, or go to other places. Zhu Yi waved his hand. The entire primordial realm, in addition to the place of trial, there are some planets that contain treasure houses and inheritance places. Now there are very few places left, which can accommodate thousands of emperors, but cannot let them go around. There is only one place left. Let them go to Moying Mountain, just where there is a ray of the origin of the universe. It can stabilize them temporarily. Zhu Yi rubbed his brows. The internal world of the Qixin Temple is huge, comparable to a universe, but the treasures and inheritances are also very large, which is so suffocating. The four main halls control only a small part. The true core heritage and treasures are in the Sea of Origin, and they are all controlled by the true spirit. Yes, Long Yi took out a token and said in a low voice, send them to the Moying Mountain of Primitive World. Remember to be polite to them and don't neglect. After these people join the Temple of Qixin in the future, most of them will be his subordinates. Now that they are driven out, they can't do too much. Okay, you can go if there is nothing to do. I am very busy here. Zhu Yi rubbed his brows and began to calculate how to distribute the inheritance. After all, 180 primordial stars started the trial inheritance at the same time. The strong on the stars calculate the type of inheritance. Primitive star. There are 3 half-step emperors, 17 Dao lords, and half-step lords on the top. There are hundreds of half-step princes. There are also the most Dayan immortals on this primitive star. There are tens of millions of Dayan immortals, which is better than other primitive stars. To be doubled. For this kind of primordial star with many strong players, he will arrange a better inheritance trial. Otherwise it will not play a fair role. With the exquisite heart of 7 orifices, even if there are hundreds of millions of trialists, she can clearly remember every Dayan immortal, especially those Dayan immortals that she secretly favors. Zhen Ling can be optimistic about Huiqing and hate Jian Wushuang, and she also has an optimistic view of Dayan immortal. Jiajiu primitive star, she is more optimistic about the Wanqing Daojun. As for Huiqing and Jian Wushuang, she only pays a little attention to these 2 little guys who are very broken in their cultivation time. She has never paid attention to it, it is true. Ling has been obsessed with these 2 people. For these 2 people, the inheritance trial was started in advance. According to the original plan, after 10 years of the primordial star combat, when the trialists were all deposited, she would start the trial again, which would arouse the fighting spirit of those Dayan immortals. https:// 1 second to remember Ace Hang Novel Network. Mobile version reading URL. Chapter 5208. Bloodthirsty Continent. Hundreds of thousands of ethnic groups lived on the vast ancient continent of Fuyuan, and naturally many emperors were born. Because of Long Yi, these emperors were not weak in strength, and even had a 5th-tier emperor. At this time, the indigenous emperors of the bloodthirsty continent were fighting against the foreign emperors of the primitive universe. There are tens of thousands of emperors in the 5 major domains of the original universe. Even if the opponent is a 5th-order emperor, facing so many powerful men, they are still terrified. After all, they have never come out of a bloodthirsty continent. Although they live on the ancient continent, there may not necessarily be as many emperors as the outside world. You outsiders, if it weren't for the Lord God, I would have killed you. Murderous intent was revealed in the eyes of the native 5th-order emperor. This group of foreign emperors was too much, and it was only a few years before the bloodthirsty continent was divided into bloodthirsty continents. Several forces have disrupted the order for countless years. In the primitive universe, it is not the ultimate emperor who takes the lead, but the 5 pinnacle forces of the Ion take the lead and confront the native emperor. It's been almost 10 years since I came in, and it's no good at all. It's teleporting us to this ancient continent. This temple of Qixin treats us as beggars. I think it's better to go to war and destroy this ancient continent directly. I don't believe that any dragon hasn't come forward yet. No, the opponent's strength is too strong. The strength of that Azure Dragon envoy is too strong. Then what do we do? We are here, we can't wait here all the time. Out and can't get out. The 5 pinnacle forces and the phantoms of all Fourth Order emperors float in the Ion, discussing together. After they entered the Temple of Qishan, they were sent to the bloodthirsty continent. The envoy of the Azure Dragon Temple only left a sentence and waited, and ignored them. In the outside world, there are emperors and strong men who can stand this. And it has been 10 years now. They are like ants on a hot pot. And they are not even in the mood for meditation. The messenger never appeared again except for seeing them when they first came in, and threw them over the bloodthirsty continent. It was good at first, after all. It was an ancient continent. They also explored around, and found that the ruins on the continent had been unearthed a long time ago. And there were no valuable treasures and heritage at all. This makes them a headache. They also know that there are many worlds in the Temple of the Gods. And even the Temple of the Gods itself is a universe. They don't care about a continent, but they never show up to tell them that they can't wait any longer. Start tossing on the bloodthirsty continent. Inside the Ion Tower, the strongest monarchs in the entire universe are now gathered. And now only a word, they will explode, sinking the entire Shenlu into the dark void. Everyone make a decision. The Wind and Rain Demon Lord who sits in the central area, said majestically, at the highest point of the Ion Tower. Either force that messenger out now, or just keep waiting. If you wait like this, the powerhouses of other universes will come, and their competitiveness will be even greater. Wind and Rain, are you sure you won't let Senior Shang come forward in this matter? An emperor who was also the leader of the Pinnacle Force asked a little uneasy. Although there are many emperors in the primitive universe, there is only one Fifth Order emperor left behind, and that is the ultimate Emperor Shang. There are too many legends about him. It is the ultimate existence that makes countless powerful men bow their heads, and the ultimate Emperor Shang, who has great reputation in the long river of time and space. Although his current strength is only Tier 5, his potential and origin are the strongest existence in the entire universe, and even Tier 6 monarchs in other universes cannot match it. Under normal circumstances, the second-rank Yuan Dao can reach the Fifth Order Emperor after the completion, and the Sixth Order Emperor has higher requirements. In the long time and space of Hanoi, there are several Sixth Order Emperors. All of them are the Sixth Order Emperors after they walk to the end of the second-tier road. There is also the Emperor of Ultimate Existence and 10,000 Descent, the Emperor who has entered the Sixth Order by virtue of his own origin. This kind of character is the real strong. Ordinary Sixth Order Emperors have most spied on the universe and created the secrets of the universe. But the ultimate existence is different. They can elevate their origin to the level of the origin of the universe, create their own secrets of the universe from their origin, and become the universe's secrets in the future. Mainly pave the way. This is also the reason why Jinling attaches so much importance to business. Although many emperors of the primordial universe did not know the reasons for this, they could still understand the ultimate way. How could an ultimate Fifth Order emperor be comparable to them? Senior Shang, and I weren't the same person, relying on him to wait for me. Did you get kicked by the donkey? Qi Shu's face was gloomy, and he mocked publicly. As Qi Shui, who gained the Tao in the same era as Shang, he did not deal with Shang in the ancient times. When the two were at the same level, Qi Shui, as the most peak special being, could also challenge Shang. But as the ultimate path reached the later stage, it became more and more important. Powerful, but the special life is in the later stage. The understanding is not enough. It is easy to get stuck at one point, can't compare with the ultimate way at all. However, Qi Shui at that time was also very arrogant. Even if his strength was not as good as Shang, he did not want to bow his head. And the two fought a lot because of a secret realm. At that time Shang had just stepped into Tier 4. Qi Shui was still the pinnacle of Tier 3, had been stuck, and had fallen behind Shang. But because he was not convinced, he insisted on fighting with Shang. In the end, he stopped because his body was on the verge of defeat. After this war, Qi Shui was honest, knowing that he was not an opponent. So he had been repairing the divine body in a cosmic secret territory. After tens of thousands of chaotic eras, The divine body was completely restored, and he entered the Fourth Order Emperor, and Shang traveled through the long river of time and space. After returning, he broke through the Fifth Order Emperor in one fell swoop. Since then, Qi Shui is truly giving up. This secret is not known to many people, and only the leaders of the peak forces know it. But no one will say it at this time. Don't look at the red level when it is shameless, but Shang has always been his negative scale. The emperor also knew that he had said the wrong thing. Although he was a little dissatisfied with Qi Shu's ridicule, he also knew that this was not the time for internal fighting. Feng Yu Majuan and the others were standing behind the Fifth Order Emperor, who originally didn't want Shang to get ahead. Qi Shui naturally had no objection. In that case, proceed according to the plan and take down this continent first. Feng Yu Majuan glanced at everyone before speaking directly. These days they have secretly discussed countermeasures. Since the Temple of the Gods is opened, and the tens of thousands of emperors have been moved in, it must be of great use. Even if they take this continent, the messenger dare not do much with them. Wind and rain, let's do it. I saw the native monarchs displeased their eyes a long time ago. They took so many treasures, and the strength was so bad. It was a violent thing. https:// 1 second to remember Acehang Novel Network. Mobile version reading URL. Chapter 5209. A Fifth Order Emperor who relies on the eternal treasure. We all can suppress him together. There is nothing to be afraid of. The reason why these people agreed to the whole plan was mostly because the treasures in the hands of the native emperors were so many that they were greedy. Although they are native emperors and have never been out of this continent, they have the most complete ancient heritage, as well as the eternal treasure that makes the Fifth Order Emperor crazy. And there is more than one. Such a big treasure house. How can it not make the tens of thousands of emperors in the primitive universe look enthusiastic? As long as they rob these indigenous emperors, they will not run in vain. Do it. The power of the ion erupts, and a violent aura sweeps the entire continent. Kill. Several peak emperors jumped up, their stature skyrocketing to thousands of miles. Thousands of emperors formed a majestic formation, sitting under the ion tower, sending a steady stream of power to the ion tower. If the treasure corresponds to the Dian Immortal, then the innate treasure corresponds to the emperor. The eternal treasure corresponds to the peak existence of Hanoi in time and space. The universe will collapse, time will cycle, but the eternal treasure will never die. In the eyes of the emperor, its power is unlimited. The power of thousands of emperors was jointly instilled in the ion, causing the ion to burst into unprecedented light. The native emperor's side was obviously frightened by this scene. Although they have ancient heritage, the number of them differs greatly. Although they have a fifth-tier emperor in their top combat power, they can have the upper hand. But in the current situation, the fifth-tier emperor may not be able to compete with the towering pagoda in front of him. This power is too powerful. In addition to the main god, they felt that suffocating power for the second time. 10,000 battles of rainbow light like Tianqing, the treasure of eternity, when suppressing all Xiao. Feng Yu Demon Lord danced with the wind in a black robe. With a superb posture like a god, her voice just fell. The powerful power of the ion, approaching the indigenous emperor. This is to directly suppress the Fifth Order Emperor with the eternal treasure. If you don't rely on the treasure, it would be unrealistic for them, the Fourth Order Peak Emperors, to besiege the Fifth Order Emperor, who possesses the eternal treasure. After all, Tier 4 and Tier 5 are too far apart, and the crowded tactics alone will not work at all. If you want to suppress or even kill the Fifth Order Emperor, only by relying on the powerful treasures, formations, tactics and many methods that can integrate their tens of thousands of emperors' strengths, can they contend with the Fifth Order Emperor. A huge suction hit instantly, and the Fifth Order Emperor turned out to be a little hard to resist, let alone the rest of the native emperors. They turned into streamers and were swallowed into the ion. This move made the Fifth Order Emperor a headache. These emperors are not his subordinates. These people are all the disciples and grandchildren of the Lord God. Now they are all suppressed, and it is too late for him to save. These inheritors were too much and completely angered him. You are provoking the gods. The fifth-order emperor forcibly stood firm, and slowly raised one hand, making waves in the void with a fist. Stop it for me. Boom! A fist shadow that shocked the world appeared, directly smashing the Ion Tower out of millions of miles. The several powerful emperors sitting in the Ion Tower were shocked in their chests, and a mouthful of Scarlet Academy spewed out. As the controller of the Ion Tower, Wind and Rain Demon Lord, her backlash was even more serious, and that punch severely injured her through the Ion Tower. Is this the power of the Fifth-Order Emperor? Or to say, the Fifth-Order Emperor who possesses the eternal treasure is too strong, and one person shakes 10,000 immortals. Wind and Rain, what to do? This person is too strong, beyond our expectation. He definitely has the eternal treasure of blessings. Fengyu Demon snorted coldly, glanced at the crowd, and said coldly, "Why? I'm scared just now. Carry on. Now that they are all in the Ion Tower, there is no way to stop them." These people secretly cursed the madman Fengyu Demon Lord. A group of timid goods, just want to get a big chance. Fengyu mocked in his heart. After only a little bit of injury, they began to retreat, one by one in the primitive universe for a long time, and became so afraid of death. A fifth-order emperor can't be achieved in a lifetime, let alone the pinnacle of the universe. The current Wind and Rain can also be seen through. No wonder the Temple of God looked down on them. Dian Immortal and Yen Xian are both testing, and only these emperors were thrown on the bloodthirsty continent. This shows that the Temple of Qixin didn't regard them as trials at the beginning, saying that it was waiting for other emperors, and even if they were all gathered, they would be sent away with a little profit. To count on this group of people to reach the pinnacle of the universe, it is better to retrain Xian Xian and Dian Xian, one for them to be suitable for control, and secondly for those who have cultivated themselves. The Temple of Qixin is at least well known. These emperors are different, one by one noble for a long time, and then let them suffer, but it is not so easy. It is said that these emperors can't wait for a few years now, and they are starting to make noise one by one. Wow! Above the bloodthirsty continent, a large hole ruptured in a void. www.novel.com. A burly man with a blue armor stepped out of it. Having just returned to the base camp, Long Yi saw the many emperors below, and shook his head helplessly. Ha! Brother Long Yi made you laugh. The man who came is the existence of the first power in the primitive universe, Shang, who masters the ultimate way. Shang's appearance is very ordinary, but the aura of destruction exuding from his gestures makes people palpitate. It's okay. This is also because my Long Yi didn't entertain him well. Long Yi said very politely. He knew that true spirit values quotient, so he was naturally very polite. Someone who has the hope to master the origin of the universe. Once you have mastered the origin of the universe, you are the Lord of the universe. In the Temple of the Gods, the Lord of the universe can be ranked as the Lord of God, and exists on the same level as the true spirit. Now that Shang has received the benefits of the Qixin Temple, even if he doesn't settle in the Qixin Temple, he will put up a vacant position in the future. It is already considered an internal escort. Long Yi is naturally polite. After all, he will not only be his own, but also his boss in the future. The state of mind is too bad, so anxious. Even if it is passed on to them, it is a waste. Shang looked at the battle below, especially seeing Chishui's red-faced scene, which made him a little disappointed. Powerful contemporaries, he left these people too far. He is also unique among the fifth-order emperors. The other fifth-order emperors in the universe have all gone to the long river of time and space, and even many have gone out and never come back. These emperors all know the secrets of the primitive universe, and the future primitive universe will only be out of the universe. The Lord will be swallowed by the taboo demon Lord. They don't even have the courage to resist, they just know how to escape. Shang didn't understand this very much. He even gave up his hometown. There is nowhere to come in life. Only the way back is incomplete. Completeness is needed to achieve the emperor. and completeness is needed to win the universe. https:// 1 second to remember Acehang Novel Network. Mobile version reading URL. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.